Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobooks. One Piece Bounty System. Chapter 61 Overwhelming Moonlight Moria. Please collect. Please recommend. Lafitte's attention was focused on the conference room, and his guard against outsiders was naturally relaxed, and he was kicked in by Tian Li's kick. Tian Li couldn't help but wipe his shoes on the ground. You, sister, I swear, I just want to kick his ass. But to his death, this guy actually danced. The result hit the target. But Tian Li was so disgusted that he immediately started to rub it on the ground again. Several people inside were surprised by Lafitte's sudden appearance, but the next change caught them off guard. They looked at Lafitte lying on the ground. Even though they had seen all kinds of big scenes, today's change shocked them again and again. You must know that this is the Navy headquarters, and the sudden appearance of one person is enough to eat. But then this mysterious man was kicked in like this. Looking at the place where Lafitte was injured, everyone present, including Sengoku, the naval commander, and Hawkeye, the leader of the Shishibukai, couldn't help but take a deep breath. At the same time, I feel my asshole tightening. The position you are attacking is too vicious. The level of viciousness makes Don Quixote de Flamingo, the boss of the underground world, feel inferior to him. Tian Li walked in and kicked Lafitte again, who was lying on the ground twitching. At the same time, he cursed, "Damn it, damn you, just stand there and let me kick you. Why are you twisting your ass? Damn it!" Tian Li was so disgusted that he pushed his front. The foul language came out. After Tian Li came in, everyone in the conference room looked at him. Warring States looked surprised and said, "Tian Li, aren't you stationed in the Kingdom of Alabasta? Why did you come back to the headquarters?" Tian Li's mind turned for a moment, looking at the miserable Lafitte on the ground, and he immediately had an idea. Isn't this me tracking this guy? After speaking, he looked at Hawkeye and said, "It's a pity, although I have made some progress, but I'm not your opponent yet, otherwise it would be very interesting to fight you again." Hawkeye still said coldly, "I am also looking forward to it very much." After saying that, he looked at the sword in Tian Li's hand. Such strange swords are still rare. Tian Li, although Butu Yahun, one of the 21 skills of the Great Kuai sword, is still not as good as the Black Knight, one of the dash skills of the Supreme Kuai sword in your hand. It is not so easy for you to cut off. Several other Shishibukai didn't bother to stare at Tian Li. They heard that the Major General in front of them had a battle with Hawkeye, although he lost. But the fact that he can still stand here means that he survived in the hands of Hawkeye, which alone is quite extraordinary. In addition, when I heard Sengoku calling him Tenrei, I thought he had defeated the same Shishibukai crocodile, that is to say. Although the young Major General in front of him was no match for Hawkeye, he was at least on the same level as them. Warring States is also very curious about Tian Li's current strength. This person on the ground, who can enter the Navy headquarters silently, is definitely not an ordinary person, but he was beaten like this by Tian Li. It's a pity that this is not the time to talk, otherwise I would have to ask clearly. Warring States said, "Do you know this guy?" If Tian Li knew what Warring States was thinking, he would be speechless. It's not that he is strong, or that Lafitte is bad, it's just that this guy is too unlucky. Hit the target. No matter how strong a person is, there is still a weakness there. What's more, judging from the stains on his legs, Tian Li should have pierced him. Even if he didn't die, he would still be seriously injured. Yuxiao, I really know this. Lafitte is called the Devil Sheriff. He was originally a national security officer in the West Sea, but this guy violently enforced the law and was expelled. He is the navigator of the Blackbeard pirates and has a devil fruit bird. The fruit is in the form of a white dove, which is why he can come to the Navy headquarters silently. He is also a good swordsman and can also use hypnosis. He is the navigator of the Blackbeard pirates. Sengoku found the key at once. Tian Li, yes, this man is not famous, but his strength is extraordinary. He once fought against the Red Hair. The scar on the Red Hair's face was left by him. After hearing what Tian Li said, everyone was completely shocked by this person who had never heard of him before. Who is the Redhead? That was one of the kings. He could leave wounds on his face and leave alive. Anyone who said he had no strength would not even believe it. Hawkeye Novel murmured, "So it's him." With Hawkeye's words, everyone who was still skeptical at first became convinced. After all, it was no secret that Hawkeye and the red-haired man had a good relationship. Looking at the shocked people, Tian Li thought there were still more people who were surprised. "Why are you anxious? Let me tell you about Blackbeard and his friends." Blackbeard Marshall D. Teach is a natural dark fruit ability user. He was originally a member of the second team of the Whitebeard Pirates. In order to seize the dark fruit, he killed the dead captain of the 4th Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, Sachi. Preliminary estimate of his strength is general level. Hearing Tian Li's evaluation of Blackbeard, everyone was stunned. The general level was actually the general level. They wouldn't doubt Tian Li's judgment. After all, where is Tian Li's strength? Tian Li ignored them and continued, there are 4 partners of Blackbeard. The first one is Lafitte, the one on the ground. The second one, Van Oka, the sniper of the Blackbeard Pirates, uses weapons for the long gun. Maxim can shoot at targets and even hit targets several kilometers away silently. It is an absolute lieutenant general level sniper. The third helmsman of the Blackbeard Pirates, Chisas Basis, is a physical fighting champion and a lieutenant general level physical fighting master. The fourth ship doctor of the Blackbeard Pirates, known as the God of Death. As a ship doctor, he always looks like he is terminally ill and dying. His strength is unknown, but judging from the strength of his partners, at least he has reached the level of a lieutenant general. At this time, a sharp and sinister voice came over, so, this person on the ground has the strength of a lieutenant general? Haha. It seems that you are already a general, otherwise how could you hit him with just one blow? Get a lieutenant general. It turned out to be Moonlight Moria, but what he said next could not be said. Because Tian Li had also moved at this time, and came to him as soon as he shaved. This time Tian Li also wanted to establish his authority. This way he can be more free. The one Tian Li admires the most is Garp. He can do whatever he wants. So this time he used all his strength. After using all his fruit abilities, iron blocks, and domineering energy, he stabbed Moonlight Moria with a hand sword. If it was the time when he was young and competing with Kaido, if it was the time when he ate 1000 shadows, Moonlight Moria would definitely be able to dodge or prevent the thunderous strike from Sky Thunder. But in reality there are not so many ifs. After losing the battle with Kaido, Moonlight Moria is no longer the big pirate he used to be, and his strength has also dropped a lot. You can tell from the comparison between his youth and now. Where is the difference? Ah! Kue Guang Moria screamed and was pierced by Tian Lei's hand sword. Chapter 62 The Beginning of Fame, please collect and recommend. The heavenly thunder did not attack his vitals. After all, there were 4 other Shishibukai, Hawkeye, Don Quixote Doflamingo, Bartholomew Bear, and Boya Hancock. If Moonlight Moria is killed now, the misunderstanding caused by them will not end well. Each of these people is more perverted than the last. Tian Li said with great disdain, Moya Moonlight, you are the only one who is still a Shishibukai. You really embarrass the other Shishibukai. Hawkeye, Don Quixote Doflamingo, Bartholomew Bear, and Boya Hancock couldn't help but look at Moonlight Moria. His eyes were also full of doubts about him, although the major general in front of him was indeed very powerful in that blow just now. But it's not like there's no chance to resist, they were absolutely sure to block it, and it wasn't difficult for them, but it was still a big difference. Sengoku next to him also had the same look in his eyes. From this moment on, he had the intention of replacing Moonlight Moria. People with poor strength were not qualified to be in the position of Shishibukai. After this meeting, after Moonlight Moria was defeated by Luffy again, this idea was completely implemented. Of course, this was something that happened later. At this time, Yue Guang Moria looked at Tian Li in horror. He did not expect that Tian Li, a major general, was actually so powerful. But he didn't dare to move because he felt that the major general's sword was still on his body. You can kill yourself at any time. In fact, he was overthinking it. It wasn't that Tian Li's strength was too strong, but that his own strength had dropped too much. At this time, Tian Li's mind came to the words, defeating the Shishibukai Moonlight Moria will give you a chance to draw the reward. Now that he had achieved his goal, Tian Li naturally took back his hand. Sky Thunder can be seen in the eyes of Hawkeye, Don Quixote Doflamingo, Bartholomew Bear, and Boya Hancock. When he let go of Moonlight Moria, the look in their eyes, the vigilance has dropped a lot. Now that Tian Li has spared Moonlight Moria, it shows that the Navy will not attack them. After all, this is the Navy headquarters, a place where the Navy's powerful people are like a forest, even if they are very vigilant. Only then did Moonlight Moria dare to say, "Kid, you dare to attack me, you are looking for death." His words aroused the contempt of everyone. Don Quixote Doflamingo mocked completely, "Huo! Huo! Huo! You can fight back Moonlight Moria. As long as you dare to take action, we can help you block Sengoku and the others." Huo! 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 When Moonlight Moria heard this, he immediately showed a fierce look on his face. He, Moonlight Moria, was indeed not as good as before, but he was still a great pirate. How could a great pirate tolerate being bullied by a junior, and in a place like this, in front of these people, how could he lose face? Seeing that Moonlight Moria was interested in taking action, Warring States immediately shouted coldly, "Moonlight Moria, what do you want? Don't forget that this is the Navy headquarters." Moonlight Moria glanced at Hawkeye, Don Quixote da Flamingo, Bartholomew Bear, and Boya Hancock. The four of them naturally understood what he meant. They were still on the same team, after all, they were both from the Shishibukai. The important thing is that they all want to see if Moonlight Moria is qualified to be on an equal footing with them. I want to know even more how strong the Rear Admiral Tianli is. So I couldn't help but stand beside him. Sengoku's face suddenly turned cold. Hawkeye, Don Quixote da Flamingo, Bartholomew Bear, Boya Hancock, what do you four want to do? Marshal of the Warring States period, don't worry. Since Moonlight Moria wants to fight me so much, then let's fight openly. What should I be afraid of? Tianli had an indifferent expression on his face, but what he said, but full of confidence. Warring States looked concerned, what about your injuries? Tianli smiled and said, although the injury is a bit serious and I can't exert my full strength, it is enough to deal with this guy who has a false reputation. Then he pointed at Moonlight Moria and said quite shamelessly, look, aren't you hurt a lot now? It's fair this time, haha. Tianli's words made Moonlight Moria furious. If looks could kill, Tianli would have died countless times. But in the end, he suppressed his anger temporarily and looked at Sengoku to see what he would say. Warring States came to Tianli's side and asked softly, are you absolutely sure? Tianli said nothing and just nodded. After seeing Tianli's affirmative answer, Warring States couldn't help but think about it. If this was the case, there would be much to do and he would simply have an open battle. As long as Tianli wins, it will also be a good blow to Wu Ha's prestige. After all, in the past few years, Shishibukai has been somewhat beyond the control of the Navy. Moreover, the emergence of a powerful young man like Tianlei in the Navy will also have a high influence on the Navy, and the morale of the Navy will also be improved a lot. Taking a step back, even if Tianli loses, there will be no loss. After all, Tianli is just a junior. The ability to fight against the Shishibukai is a manifestation of strength and will bring a lot of benefits. No matter how you calculate it, it is beneficial to the Navy, so this matter can be done. Warring States is worthy of being a wise general. He immediately thought about all aspects of this battle and said calmly, in this case, let's fight on a small island next to the headquarters. After all, if we are not suitable for fighting in the headquarters, how can we avoid the moonlight? Leah. With the support of the other four, Moonlight Moria was naturally not afraid anymore and said without hesitation, Junior, I will return your sword 100 times. Tianli sneered, fighting relies on strength, not words. After saying this, he walked out first. Sengoku gave instructions to the navy around him. And soon the news came out in the kingdom controlled by the navy that the rising star of the navy, Rear Admiral Tianlei, would fight against Moonlight Moria, one of the Shishibukai. As soon as this information came out, it can be said that it shocked many people, and it went to the live broadcast squares in various cities. Usually this live broadcast square is used for politicians and kings to release information. Today will be a live broadcast of the battle between Tianli and Moonlight Moria. The subsequent battle on the top will also be broadcast live using this method. People from all walks of life came here, including nobles, commoners, and even pirates. The young ones among them all came because of the reputation of the Shishibukai. After all, the reputation of the Shishibukai was so great now that they were chasing the four emperors. The older ones came here for the name Moonlight Moria, but they remembered that this was a super pirate who competed with the four emperors for the throne. Of course, all this was secretly arranged by the Warring States period. Since it was done, it was natural to maximize the benefits. Chapter 63 The Battle of Recruitment. Soon, figures appeared on the big screen of the live broadcast, and people recognized them. They were the naval commander Senguo, and several lieutenant generals. They were all excited, this was a rare big shot, this is what civilians and naval forces are concerned about. The pirates were paying attention to another wave of 4 people, which turned out to be the other Shishibukai, Hawkeye, Don Quixote da Flamingo, Bartholomew Bear, Boya Hancock, and Naga. After going to Moonlight Moria, wouldn't the reigning Shishibukai be all here? The pirate was also excited. At this time, the picture on the screen turned, and 1 or 2 people appeared in a duel. They were the protagonists of this competition. One was Moonlight Moria, one of the Shishibukai, and the other was in a navy uniform with the rank of Major General. Naturally it is thunder. Who do you think will win? One person asked. Of course it is, Moonlight Moria. He is one of the 7 martial arts. No matter how strong the Rear Admiral is, he cannot be his opponent. This is also a much older idea, even for those civilians, although they really wanted the navy to win, but the reputation of the Shishibukai was only slightly worse than that of an admiral in their minds. How could a major general be able to deal with it? Among the people watching, there were also wise men. They felt that the Rear Admiral of the Navy was not that simple. The Navy is not stupid. If the Major General did not have the strength to fight, what would the Navy do? Isn't this making yourself unhappy? However, they did not expect that Tian Li would win, they just thought about how long he could persist. After all, for a Major General, and such a young Major General, as long as he persists longer in the battle with Shishibukai, he will win. At this time, one of the 2 people facing each other on the screen made a move. The Major General took off his shirt, revealing a slender and powerful body. The scar on the chest that almost cut the person in 2 was extremely glaring. Many people couldn't help but exclaimed after seeing it. Although the injury had healed, judging from the scar, the injury must have been very serious at that time. They didn't understand that someone could still be alive after suffering such injuries. The Major General said. This is injured by Hawkeye, who is also a member of the Shishibukai like you. As for him, I have to say that he is worthy of being the world's best swordsman. He is strong enough. The Major General's words immediately ignited the excitement of everyone who saw this scene. The fire of gossip. It turns out that this Major General has fought against Hawkeye before. They were full of shock, but their shock was not over yet, because the Major General spoke again. The Major General said calmly, "This is what was left from the battle between me and another Shishibukai, Crocodile. Although I defeated him in the end, I was also seriously injured." The Major General said while revealing there are also several huge wounds on the back. Judging from the wounds, they have not yet recovered. This time, everyone was shocked. What did the Major General say? He captured Crocodile, one of the 7 sea warriors? Is there something wrong with my ears? One person asked. If there's something wrong with your ears, then I guess so am I, because I hear it too. Then the Major General said very pretentiously, "But you, Moonlight Moria, are not good, your strength is too poor. 10 moves, only 10 moves. If 10 moves can't kill you, I will automatically admit defeat." If the Major General's previous words had shocked everyone, then this sentence scared everyone. Can you defeat a Shishibukai in 10 moves? That doesn't mean that the Major General is already general level, or even general level or above. Garp and he, who had heard the news at this time, had also arrived at the scene. As soon as they arrived, they heard the sky thunder being released, such an arrogant statement. Both of them were stunned, and Garp couldn't help but said to Sengoku, "Sengoku, is this reliable? Can you defeat a Shishibukai in 10 moves? Even I don't dare to say such a thing." After listening to Garp's words, Warring States could not help but frown. He asked Tian Li to raise his posture a little higher, which could improve the image of the navy, but he was not so crazy as Tian Li. He was speechless now, but he couldn't stop now and could only do what he wanted. Hawkeye's eyes suddenly lit up, and he was now even more interested in the progress of Tian Li's swordsmanship. Don Quixote da Flamingo laughed sinisterly, "Huo! Huo! Huo! What an arrogant navy boy!" Boya Hancock only uttered 2 words, "Interesting." Moonlight Moria saw Tian Li first showing off his achievements, and then devaluing himself as worthless, and he immediately became furious. He immediately used his ultimate move and took out all the shadows he was carrying and swallowed them. Moonlight Moria's body immediately grew larger, reaching a length of more than 10 meters before stopping. Moonlight Moria's aura suddenly increased. The furious Moonlight Moria immediately punched Tian Li and shouted in unison, "Boy, go to hell!" Tian Li looked at the huge fist that was swinging at him and couldn't help but sneered. "Are you comparing your strength with me?" Tian Li did not hesitate and punched out. 2 fists, one large and one small, met in the air. Boom! A powerful shock wave was generated, knocking down nearby trees to the ground. As for the stalemate between the 2, cracks have appeared on the ground centered on the 2. Tian Li hasn't forgotten the promise of 10 moves yet. "Now that you have said it, you must do it," he shouted loudly, "Iron! Domineering!" With the blessing of the 2, Tian Li pushed Moonlight Moria back in one stroke. Tian Li immediately jumped up and punched Moonlight Moria in the chest. Just when Tian Li's fist was about to hit Moonlight Moria shouted, "Boy, if you want to defeat me, it's not that simple, Shadow Warrior. I saw Moonlight Moria and his shadow exchanged a shadow position, avoiding the attack of the Sky Thunder. After Moonlight Moria dodged, he smiled proudly and shouted, "Take another shadow box move from me." Moonlight Moria turned his shadow into countless bats and besieged Tianli. When Tianli saw it, he didn't care. He stretched his hands to both sides and used his fruit power and domineering energy. He shouted, "Whirlwind!" After that, he quickly spun around, not caring about the shadow bats that were attacking. Attacked Moonlight Moria. Wherever the thunder passed, Moonlight Moria's shadow bat was cut into powder. Moonlight Moria saw that his move was easily broken by the thunder, and he couldn't help but became furious. "Damn boy, I will make you die a miserable death. Shadow Mage, come to me too." Moria's shadow once again turned into he created a shadow clone and attacked Tianli. Moreover, this shadow clone was unscathed after being hit by the thunder attack. Only then did Tianli remember that this guy also had this trick that ignored any damage and helped Moria defend and attack the enemy like a monster, a stalking move. Chapter 64 Infinite Slash. The Sky Thunder did not stop, but started to rotate even faster, and shouted, "One sword style secret, one sword, one world." A circular, fast-rotating special slash, slashed towards Moonlight Moria. This was for the first time. He used his body to use his sword to strike, but he didn't expect it to go so smoothly. At the same time, a Shadow Mage clone shook off Moonlight Moria and came to Moonlight Moria's head. The legs used their fruit abilities. The two legs were together like a double-edged sword, and the feet became like the tips of swords. The body started to spin rapidly, and at the same time he shouted, "Moonlight Moria, follow my move again, the Lightning Dual Dragon Diamond." As he spoke, Tianli blessed his feet with iron blocks and domineering energy, and attacked Moonlight Moria from top to bottom like a top. At this time, Tianli's previous slash of one sword style, one world, one sword also struck in front of Moonlight Moria. Facing these two powerful attacks, Moonlight Moria panicked a little. He could feel the supreme power from these two moves. Not that he could block it forcefully, or even if he did, he would definitely be seriously injured. Moonlight Moria panicked a little, and instinctively used his special dodge trick Shadow Warrior again. The body and the shadow once again exchanged positions. The secret of one sword style, one sword, one world. In this way, Moonlight Moria easily dodged. However, Tianli had already figured out his move and immediately changed the direction of the attack and attacked his shadow fiercely. Moonlight Moria had just appeared in the shadow place, and the attack from the Sky Thunder had already arrived. Moonlight Moria had no time to react, and said angrily in horror, "No." Then there was a scream, "Ah!" The Sky Thunder is like a high-speed rotating drill, drilling through Moonlight Moria. The Sky Thunder that is already behind Moonlight Moria can even see the scene in front of Moonlight Moria from this side. However, Tianli still secretly praised him. He was indeed a guy who had fought with Kaido. In that situation, he was able to move his body and avoid the vital points. But even so, Moonlight Moria also suffered serious injuries. After all, no matter who it was, they couldn't resist having a 2-meter wide hole punched in their body. The people in front of the screen naturally saw it clearly and couldn't help but take a deep breath. Now they no longer had any doubts about Tianli's strength. Everyone was silent for a while. Then all the civilians cheered. The stronger the navy, the safer they will be. Therefore, it is very happy that the navy has such a powerful major general. The pirates didn't even say a word, and they could see that it wasn't that Moonlight Moria was not strong, but that the major general was terrifyingly strong. But to them, the two of them are not much different, because they are both existences they look up to. Among the supernovas, there were also a few people who saw this battle. However, the reaction was not that great, because they also had extraordinary strength. Eustace Kid said with murderous intent, "It seems that the Navy's admirals are not all useless." Buckle Hawkins held the cards in his hand and kept calculating, "It seems that we must meet one day. But the chance of becoming enemies is actually 0. It's a bit incredible. Drake, it seems that another strong man has been born in this generation of the Navy." Trafalgar Law lowered his head and thought, "Perhaps, the young Navy. You can take advantage of it." He murmured, "Nandi, Don Quixote Rocinante, I will definitely kill Don Quixote da Flamingo to avenge you." Pfft! Moonlight Moria vomited several mouthfuls of blood, and from time to time, a few shadows floated out of his mouth and flew away into the distance. At this time, he was already half kneeling on the ground, holding his hands on the ground, gasping for air. But his eyes were fixed on Tianlei. Damn boy, just die. Shadow horn gun. His shadow changed again, this time it turned into a huge spear and struck towards Tianlei. In fact, the full blow just now injured Moonlight Moria, but Tianlei didn't feel comfortable either. After all, his injuries from the battle with Crocodile were not completely healed. The wound that had stuttered opened once again. After realizing his physical condition, Tianlei couldn't help but frown. It seemed that he could only deliver one more powerful attack. Looking at the rapid attack, the shadow gun came. Not afraid of the thunder, he stretched out an arm, with the palm facing up, in a slashing posture, and said calmly, "It Rue Gong Niao." Tianlei's arm slashed hard above Moonlight Moria's shadow gun. After Tianlei blocked the blow of Moonlight Moria, he immediately used the moon step to reach the sky. He stretched out his hands again and spun again, but he did not attack Moonlight Moria. Instead, it kept spinning. After a while, it had reached the limit of rotation speed that the body could bear. Then Tianlei shouted coldly, "Dual sword style, infinite slash." With this cold sound drink, countless slashes were slashed from the high-speed rotating Tianlei, and slashed towards Moonlight Moria. Seeing Tianlei's move, Eagle Eye, the #1 swordsman, couldn't help but narrow his eyes, and his whole body's aura couldn't help but be released, his eyes filled with fighting intent. But it soon calmed down and Zhi Lai said to himself, "The state where man and sword merge into one is really surprising. But it's still a little bit short. Hurry up and grow up. I'm in that position, waiting for your arrival." Hawkeye's sudden outburst made the warring states and others next to him nervous. Now that they saw Tianlei's combat power, they valued Tianlei even more, but they did not allow any mistakes. This is definitely a candidate for the future general of the navy. But then, after listening to Eagle Eye's words, someone took another high look at Tianlei. Ying's words couldn't be more clear. He is the world's greatest swordsman, waiting for Tianlei's challenge. Moonlight Moria's current body is so huge, and she is seriously injured. If she hides. He could only use the dodge move, Shadow Warrior. It's a pity that Tianlei's slash followed closely, leaving him no chance to use the Shadow Warrior again. He was immediately killed, but Tianlei had no intention of stopping. If only he knew the shortcomings of his move. His move speeded up the speed of the slashes and increased the number of slashes, but the power of the slashes became unsatisfactory. Therefore, he can only win with numbers and severely damage his opponent with endless slashes. Of course, these endless slashes also consume endless physical strength, and Moonlight Moria was hit by the thunderous slashes, causing shadows to spit out from her mouth. Tianlei didn't stop attacking until no more shadows floated out of Moonlight Moria's mouth. At this time, Tianlei's physical strength only had 3 levels left. Chapter 65 Become famous in the world. When Moonlight Moria's figure appeared in front of people again, he had returned to his original size, and his body had been beaten by the infinite slashes of the sky thunder, and he was no longer human. However, the words about killing Moonlight Moria did not appear in Tianlei's mind. Presumably, he was still dead. Tianlei couldn't help but be surprised by the human life in this world. Crocodile was the same last time, and now Moonlight Moria is also the same. It's so difficult for these people to kill them. Just as Tianlei was thinking about these messy things, the people in front of the screen once again cheered. Although they had believed that Tianlei could win when they injured Moonlight Moria before, they did not expect that it would really be possible. Within 10 moves, he killed Moonlight Moria, one of the Shishibukai, and he did it without any damage. But he was killed with no injuries. The Rear Admiral was injured before the battle. This was visible to everyone. Suddenly, the name of the genius Rear Admiral of the Navy resounded throughout the Great Waterway. The Whitebeard pirates said, Dad, the Navy has a great guy." A man with a straw hat and a lot of pockmarks on his face rushed in and said. Whitebeard glanced at the information in his hand and laughed loudly, Fei. It seems that the young men from the Navy have begun to appear. It seems that your successors from warring states and Garp have also appeared. It's getting more and more interesting now. Whitebeard said at the end, feeling a little nostalgic and a little longing for it. Then he said to this person, Ace, this little guy is probably your opponent. Just like me, Roger, Golden Lion, Sengoku and Garp. It's hard to save a friend in life, but it's even harder to find an opponent. Because in this way, life will not be lonely. Fee. Ace, Dad, I want to capture Dichi. After all, he is my team member. I must go. Whitebeard looked at the determined Ace and could only say, go. But he didn't know that once Ace left, he never came back, and in the end, the entire Whitebeard pirates got involved. Big Mom, pirate group, and, hey! The Navy really has a talent. Guys, keep an eye on him, we will kill him. I wonder if Sengoku and the others will be heartbroken, haha. In the red-haired pirate group, a guy with a big meaty leg shouted, Captain! Captain! Look, something big happened. A 17-year-old rear admiral of the Navy took Crocodile and Moonlight Molly from the Shishibukai. Yado was killed. Shanks took the information and looked at it. Hey! It's this guy. I heard Hawkeye mention him, saying that he is a guy with very good swordsmanship among the younger generations. I didn't expect him to grow to this extent so quickly. It seems Luffy's road is not smooth. Ha ha ha. But it's more fun this way. In less than a day, the entire Great Channel knew that the Navy had produced an extraordinary Major General, and the legend of Major General Tian Li had begun. And our Tian Li is already preparing to leave the headquarters. As for how the headquarters arranges for him, he doesn't care. With Dian's strength, he dares to tell his headquarters to eat shit. How could Tian Li not even dare to give himself a holiday? The most important thing is that Zhenguo didn't know what was wrong with him, but he actually let go of the guy who made him hit the target, no matter what. How did this guy convince Warring States that he must go out when he is Tian Lei? How could I miss this amazing battle between light and darkness between Ace and Blackbeard? By then, maybe you can get a bargain. No matter what happens, he will still have to get rid of a few of Blackbeard's comrades, so that his plans will be easier to complete in the future. Tian Li ordered, Arita, Dezaya, Shni, and Galdino, you stay, with Galdino taking the lead, and the others assisting. Listen carefully. I will leave you 1 million shells. Here, you use this money to give me to befriend those young Navy men with strength and potential, do you understand? Arita and Dezaya looked confused, but the bright-minded Gardino's eyes immediately lit up and he said excitedly, I will definitely not let down the boss's expectations. Tian Li, that's good. I will arrange you to be with my uncle, General Akainu, so that you can have easier access to those geniuses. Thor Romeo, Kirby, Cook Nocturne, and Shni, the 4 of you will set off with me, aiming for Bonaro Island. Tian Li was not worried at all, because of his appearance, Luffy and his group the route would change, affecting Blackbeard's gang who were chasing them. Another reason why the Shishibu held this meeting was because the Straw Hats captured Judiciary Island. It seemed that Robin was inevitably on the way to the ship. Not long after Tian Li and the other 5 people left, Warring States got the news and immediately became furious. What does this kid want to do? He went out without saying a word? Doesn't he know how many people are staring at him now? While eating donuts, Garp said, we have been here like this before. How can we take on a big position without more experience? Besides, I like this guy's way of doing things. Ha 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 man. When Warring States heard Garp, the first half of what he said was good, but it was a bit different from what he said. He was about to praise him a few words, but he was shocked by his last sentence. I covered my face and thought, sure enough, I was still too naive to think that this old guy could be reliable. After sailing at sea for a month, Tian Li's injuries were almost healed. He couldn't wait to meet Blackbeard and Ace. Now, Skyna, who had been flying above the ship, shouted loudly, a pirate ship appears in front. Judging from the pirate flag, it is the Hurricane Pirates. Tian Li only had an impression of the pirates who appeared in the anime in his previous life. He had no impression of the Hurricane Pirates at all. He said to Piccolo with a puzzled look on his face, Piccolo, how come I don't have this Hurricane Pirates? Ever heard of it? Kaba looked shocked, no way. Boss, this is a big pirate group. There are 2 big pirates with hundreds of millions, and as many as 5 with tens of millions. It can be said that, only in the Great Pirate under the 4 Emperors and the Shishibukai. Tian Li became excited when he heard this. He knew that he would get a lucky draw for killing them. Even if he won a lucky draw now, it was no longer so important to him. But don't forget, the Haki awakening factor you draw can also be used by your companions. Is there anything faster than awakening Haki and improving your strength? Kaba looked at Tian Li's excited look and had a bad feeling. He asked with a bitter look on his face, Boss, you don't intend to take them down. Chapter 66 The Growth of Partners, please collect and recommend. Tian Li showed an extremely bright smile to Kabi, it's not us, it's you, and Thor Romeo, Nakajao, and Xuanai who have to deal with them. After hearing Tian Li's words, Kabi's mouth opened so wide that his jaw almost dropped to the ground. He said in a trembling voice, "Boss, you are not mistaken. This Hurricane Pirates group has two big pirates with hundreds of millions of dollars. How can we be opponents?" The opposite of him was Thor Romeo. When he heard that there was a battle, the guy with hundreds of millions of levels immediately became excited and laughed, "Kirby, don't worry. I can handle them all by myself, ha ha ha." At the end, he laughed again. Nyoki Jo and Swina also looked at Tian Li with worried faces. "Tian Li, do you think you don't have such strength?" Nakajo and Swina nodded in unison, with such expressions on their faces. Tian Lei was also a little speechless. A person who learns and skillfully uses any of the 6 moves in the navy is at least a major. 2 moves are a colonel, and those who know 3 moves are not major generals as long as they perform a little merit. "Niu Chi Gao, you know the 4 moves now. Iron block, shave, moon step, paper painting, lan cow, you can use each move freely. Your strength is relatively weak, but you have 2000 strength. It is CP9 who is best at the 6 moves. There are not many members who can compare with you, a strong one among major generals." When Nyoki Jo heard what Tian Li said, she was a little confused for a moment, and murmured, "Am I so strong? Why didn't I know?" This attracted big eye rolls from both Kirby and Thor Romeo. Nakajo was the most talented among them in the 6 styles, but it made these 2 guys envious and jealous. The most speechless thing is that this elder sister has no idea how powerful she is. Thor Romeo said speechlessly, "Sister, if you improve your combat experience, even Kirby and I can't do anything to you." Nyoki Jo looked at them with a pair of innocent eyes and said, "Then I'll give it a try." But the look in his eyes said, "Don't lie to me. Otherwise, you will have to take care of your own food in the future." Xuanai said very frustrated, "But I only know iron blocks and Lanji, but I am much different from Noki." "Tian Li, don't forget, you are still a user with fruit abilities. Think about it, you can fly into the air and attack with your Arashi kick. Anyway, there are not many pirates who can fly. As long as you pay a little attention, you will be able to fly. Okay. And your move of dash kilograms and pressure, which changes the weight to dash kilograms and crushes the opponent to death. Now it has been developed to dash kilograms. Think about it, if you use an iron block and then use this move, what kind of power will it be?" Swina was also excited immediately. "Does this mean that I am also very strong? I am no longer just showing off and holding back." But she immediately became frustrated again. "I'm hiding in the air and hitting people. How do I feel? As obscene as Thor Romeo." Thor Romeo's face immediately dropped. "What does it mean to be shot while lying down? This is it," Thor Romeo roared, "why am I so obscene? Okay, stop talking nonsense. Xuanai, use your abilities to bring Kabi and Thor Romeo to the other side's ship. Nakajo, you can follow." Tian Li interrupted Thor Romeo and said the group of 5 people flew towards the Hurricane Pirates in a swaggering manner. "Hurricane Pirates, it's not good, it's not good." Snapped. The visitor received a slap. "What are you anxious about? If you have something to say slowly." The man added, "The captain is really not well. We found a rear admiral's ship ahead." "Isn't he just a rear admiral? What's so great about it? Are there not many rear admirals we have killed?" "Captain, they have flown over and are about to arrive on our ship. And they seem to be the powerful rear admiral who captured Crocodile, one of the Shishibukai, and defeated Moonglow Moria, also a member of the Shishibukai." The captain was silent for a while, then slapped him again and said angrily, "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" After saying that, he rushed out. Little Luoluo covered his face and looked at the captain, who walked out with an aggrieved look. "Captain, didn't you ask me to speak slowly?" The 2 opposing parties on the pirate ship, except for Tian Lei, looked at each other with fear. The atmosphere was tense, and they felt like they would take action if they disagreed. Although Tian Li now knows how much their bounty is, he still doesn't know who they are. He said to Kirby, "Tell me who they are." Kirby, the captain of the Hurricane Pirates, Hurricane Lot, is a superhuman hurricane fruit power user. He can use wind blades to attack and has a bounty of 1 million. The battle captain Swordsman Mikey has a bounty of 3,000 million. Fighting captain Boxer Haruko has a bounty of 1 million. Fighting captain Blackhand Tail has a bounty of 1,000 million. Fight! Tian Li, just these 4 people. Kabi suddenly burst into tears. "Boss, shouldn't the bounty be lower? Is it so high now? The group of pirates on the opposite side finally couldn't bear it any longer. They had never been ignored like this before. If they hadn't known that Major General Tian Li was so powerful, they would have swarmed them up and beaten them up. Lot's face was cold and his eyes were filled with anger as he said, "A genius Rear Admiral of the Navy, you don't know what to do if you find us." It's a pity that Tian Li didn't bother him at all, but said to himself, "The one who was called just now will have a fight with my partner. If you lose, you will die. If you win, you can leave." Black Handtail said angrily, "Who do you think we are? Do you think we can do whatever you want?" As soon as Black Handtail finished speaking, Tian Li immediately appeared in front of him, grabbed his neck and lifted him up. "I am a navy, you are pirates, it is only natural that I arrest you. Yes, it would be a great mercy for you to have a chance." Tian Li's strength was so strong that he couldn't break free at all. At this time, Hurricane Lot and Sword How Mikey saw Black Handtail being captured by Tian Lei, and immediately launched an attack on Tian Lei. Unfortunately, Tian Li had no interest in fighting them. He dodged their attack in an instant and returned to Kabi and the others. Lot suppressed the anger in his hands. "What exactly do you want to do?" Tian Li smiled and said domineeringly, "Either die or fight with my partners. There are only two choices." Before Lot could answer, he turned his head and said to Thor Romeo, "The first game, come on." Thor Romeo, who had been gearing up for a long time, immediately stepped forward and said to Lot arrogantly, "It's you, come on. Let me see if your 1 million bounty is worth it." Chapter 67 The Powerful Bartle Romeo and Kabi, please collect and recommend. Hurricane Lot's anger could no longer be suppressed at this time, and he shouted coldly, "Fight if we fight, I'm afraid you won't succeed." Bartle Romeo laughed strangely, "Then I won't be polite. Use my barrier, Bull Rush." Bartle Romeo tied a knot on the fingers of both hands and immediately stood in front of him. A curved transparent barrier was created, and then the barrier quickly moved forward, shoveling away everything in front like a bulldozer, more like a herd of bulls rushing forward. Hurricane Lot didn't know what kind of ability Bartle Romeo's barrier was, so he immediately used his own ability, hitting Bartle Romeo's barrier with a powerful wind blade slash. Bartle Romeo, who was moving behind the barrier at the same time, couldn't help but sneered at the scene. Attack, the last thing he fears is attack. He bumped into it without hesitation, and the seemingly powerful slash was instantly destroyed by the impact. Hurricane Lot's eyes almost popped out of his head when he saw it. Although this was not his strongest move, it was still extremely powerful. In this way, except for a sound when the impact occurred, no other hair was hurt on the opponent. It didn't even affect the opponent's attack speed at all. Seeing that the oncoming force continued unabated, it was about to hit its own navy. Hurricane Lot was a little scared. This was the first time he encountered this, but he ignored the fruit ability of his attack. After the fear, it immediately turned into raging anger. "How could I, Hurricane Lot, scare a junior in the navy? Roar!" He looked up to the sky and roared, and a powerful hurricane instantly appeared next to Hurricane Lot, as if the whole world was about to be sucked into it. When Hurricane Lot roared into the sky, his crew hid in the cabin. It seemed that they were very familiar with Hurricane Lot's attack habits. Tian Li also took a look at it and praised, "This move is really good. Arrange a strong wind around the body, so that you can attack and defend. And the power is also quite extraordinary. It is worthy of it. This 1 million bounty, but meeting Bartle Romeo is like meeting your nemesis." As if to prove Tian Lei's words, Bartle Romeo's barrier slammed into his hurricane. Bartle Romeo's barrier is extremely abnormal. It can block the attack of the general, not to mention that the power of this is only a good hurricane. It only felt slightly weak, and Bartle Romeo's approaching speed was instantly knocked away by Bartle Romeo's barrier. Hurricane Lot, who was in the hurricane, was naturally inevitable and was severely knocked away by the barrier. Looking at Hurricane Lot who had been knocked away by him, Bartle Romeo immediately struck with another flying kick, and then another finger light came out from his fingers and shot towards Hurricane Lot at the same speed. Bartle Romeo kept Tian Lei's words in mind. When the two sides were fighting, even if he had the absolute upper hand, he could not slack off at all. If you can attack one more time, attack one more time. After all, the more seriously injured the opponent is, the better it is for you, and the chance of being overturned will be much smaller. At this time, the pirates who were waiting for the captain to show off his power in the ship's cabin were a little unable to react when they saw that the captain Hurricane Lot was knocked away with one blow. Even the swordsman Mikey, who reacted the fastest, only reacted after Bartle Romeo's Lanjiao attack hit Hurricane Lot. Should come over. He immediately drew his sword in an attempt to block their captain, Hurricane Lot, from the finger gun attack that followed Bartolomeo. Unfortunately, Tian Li's movements were not slow either. He stopped the swordsman Mikey with a casual slash, and said calmly, "This is their battle, and you can't interfere." Hurricane Lot was in tragedy. He was hit by Bartolomeo's finger gun again, hitting him 3 times in a row, a powerful attack. No matter how strong Hurricane Lot is, it cannot withstand it. He fainted and lost his fighting ability. He turned around and said to Kabi, "You go up." Tian Li didn't care at all what the swordsman Mikey on the opposite side was thinking, and directly ordered Kibi to go up. Kabi stepped forward without saying a word, and started fighting directly. His hands danced in the air, and crystal guns appeared in front of Kabi. Swordsman Mikey couldn't help but frowned when he saw Kabi's actions. He was another ability user. The ability user who just fought on the ship was extremely powerful. I guess this person's ability is not much different, but now I'm in trouble. Kabi sneered, waved his hand, and the crystal gun in front of him immediately flew towards the swordsman Mikey. The swordsman Mikey didn't show any weakness, and shouted, "One flying slash!" A slash smashed Kabi's crystal into pieces, but the hardness of Kabi's crystal was still too poor. "Take another move from me." Crystal escape. Crystal pentagram road. Kabi stepped on the ground, and crystals immediately stabbed Jian Haomi in a straight line. This move was Tian Li's suggestion to him. In fact, it was another one of Tian Li's past lives. His favorite anime is Gurren Ant's moves in Fire Hidden Ninja. Of course, it's not just this move but a whole set, which is quite powerful. Sword Haomi once again struck with a slash, slashing at Kabi's crystal, with the intention of killing it with one strike. Tian Li couldn't help but nodded his head, this is the real swordsman. But Kibi's attack hadn't stopped yet, and he used his most powerful move, the forward move. Kibi shouted, "Gather energy." I saw a big crystal forming around Kibi, and the surrounding the light suddenly dimmed, and a faint light emitted from the large crystal. In just one breath, the light on the big crystal became extremely dazzling. Finally, the light on the big crystal made everyone unable to open their eyes. At this time, Kabi shouted, "Crystal escape, one arrow of light." The light from the big crystal immediately turned into a beam of light and shot toward Sword Hero Mi at a speed that was unprecedentedly fast. This move is quite awesome among Hokage, it blinded the Three Tails. Now it is even more powerful. Jian Haomi is also a person with the domineering spirit of seeing and hearing. He can't see it with his eyes and can't help it. Relying on the domineering sense of seeing and hearing, Sword Haomi slashed through with one sword. What is usually a sure thing, something unexpected happened this time. The swordsman felt like he was being stabbed through the heart, but he couldn't figure out why he didn't block the opponent's attack even though he had already hit it. It was this doubt that supported him to ask the last question, "Why?" Kabi replied calmly, "Light. Light. Light." Jian Haomi fell down, "Yes, light, how is it possible that a swordsman like me can cut it off, not even the top swordsman?" Chapter 68, The Plot Against Blackbeard begins, please collect, please recommend. When Kabi came back, Tian Li turned to Jianzhan Swane and Nyaki and said, "Which one of you will go first?" "I'll do it first." After saying that, Swane held up a good sun umbrella and floated into the air, smiling lightly, "Boxer Haruko, let's have a fight." After watching Bartolomeo and K2 battles. She now has confidence. After all, she and these two people often train together and have competed against each other. After comparing them, she has a clear positioning of her own strength. But heaven often does not follow people's wishes. Boxer Hunza said, "We surrender." Hunza thought to himself, "Why should I fight? You guys come out casually, both of them are powerful ability users, and they killed our strongest captain and deputy captain in just a few strokes. Now the third one is still an ability user, and the key is that he can fly. Can I still go to heaven and beat you? It's obvious that I was abused by you unilaterally, look at what happened to the two captains. Could it be worse? Even if I get caught by you, it would be better than this." Swana in the sky was immediately dumbfounded, "Hey!" She looked at Tian Li helplessly, with an innocent look on her face, as if it was none of my business. Tian Li looked at these pirates and said, "If you want to catch you, I will catch you. I won't fight you anyway." He was also drunk. Suddenly, I felt pain again in a place that had not hurt for a long time. Tian Li really wants to tell them, as a pirate, where are the moral integrity that you pirates should have? Seeing them like this, they have decided not to fight back. What a waste of time. Tian Li waved his hand and asked Kabi and Bartolomeo to take the pirates into custody. In this way, Tian Li and his gang set off again. And soon they would reach their destination, Bonaro Island. Looking at the scene in the town, Tian Li knew that it was too late, because this place could no longer be called a town, and it was more appropriate to call it a ruin. The four of them, Bartolomeo, were a little dumbfounded. This was like a shocking battle. But who and what kind of strength can have such powerful destructive power? In their minds, this is completely beyond what humans can do. But Tian Li was not surprised. One was a natural type dark fruit ability user, and the other was a natural type burning fruit ability user. They were both extremely destructive people, and they were fighting against each other. Even if this small island is razed to the ground, Tian Li will not be surprised. Xuanai, go to the forest over there and ask the people hiding there which way the pirates went. Tian Li just used his sense of knowledge to know where the people in the town were hiding. After a while, Xuanai came back. Boss, listen to what they said. Not long ago, there was a fight between fire and darkness here, and each one had the power to destroy the world. The small town was also destroyed by them. Let's get to the point. Tian Li has known this for a long time. He even knows who Huo Yaihei is, so why bother asking? Xuanai pouted and said, oh. In the end, Huo was defeated and was taken away by the dark group. However, the pirate who could use darkness seemed to be unhurt and was carried away by his partners. Injured? Impossible. This dark fruit of Blackbeard can attract all harm. But there is a price, that is, you will suffer the pain of Baipai. In this way, mental and physical energy will definitely be consumed very quickly. And this Esco is also extremely powerful. I think Blackbeard defeated him and exhausted his physical and mental energy, so he was carried away. In this way, it is not easy to recover. Without a period of recuperation, there is no way to recover as before. Is that Blackbeard in a weak state? Isn't this my chance? Is there anything more exciting than the power to strangle the future Yonko? In the world of One Piece, in order to survive and develop in the future, sometimes you have to endure and bow your head. But once you have enough strength, you can have nothing to worry about. The most important thing now is not survival or future development, because these thunders are already in your hands. Now Tian Li only wants tense and exciting adventures, as well as various powerful challenges. Killing Blackbeard is now a major challenge in Tian Li's life. Tian Li began to explain Blackbeard's group carefully to the four companions. After all, only with their assistance could he have a chance to kill Blackbeard. Okay, I will definitely pursue the Blackbeard group. After all, they destroyed this town. We need to give an explanation to the people here. Now let me explain to you, this Blackbeard pirate group, fortunately you have a preparation. Tian Li thought for a moment and said, in our plan, we must pay close attention to one person, that is Fan Oka, nicknamed Yan Yu. His identity is a sniper, he is a silent person who believes in fate, and his vision is very good. Excellent, the weapon is called Qinlu, and the bullets fired can melt metal. He can be said to be our biggest enemy, because his bullets are extremely fast, even exceeding the speed of sound. That is to say, when you hear the gunshot by that time, he has already shot you. And even the fastest among you, Najiko, can't dodge. So Bartolomeo, you must lock him up in your barrier cage for me as soon as possible. Bartolomeo chuckled, don't worry, boss. I will definitely let him stay in my cage until he dies. Tian Li added, enemy no. Dash is Lafitte, a professional navigator. He has a cane with a sword hidden in it. He is a good swordsman. At the same time, he is also an ability user in the form of a bird fruit, a white dove. He is also good at hypnosis. He once sneaked into the naval headquarters quietly, and also hypnotized the navy guarding the gate of justice without anyone knowing. So when it comes to fighting, I just attack him immediately and don't give him a chance to say anything or do anything else. However, he injured me at the navy headquarters, and the injury was not serious. No matter how good their ship's doctor's medical skills are, I guess by now he has not recovered yet. This person will be left to you, Nakajao. You just need to keep surrounding him so that he cannot attack others. Can you do it? If this is your first time fighting? Lei asked Nakajao with a serious face. Nakajao smiled faintly, it's okay. I believe that with my speed, there should be no problem in dealing with a seriously injured person. At worst, I can learn from Bartolomeo and be a little more obscene. Bartolomeo said with a bitter look on his face, Nacho, you are making fun of me too. I can't survive this day. The three of them looked at Bartolomeo's funny look and couldn't help but laugh. Chapter 69, Catching Up with Blackbeard and His Gang, please collect and recommend. Tian Li pondered again and said, Bogas, the helmsman, is known as the fighting champion. He is the first combat force of the Blackbeard pirates. His strength is definitely not inferior to that of the Vice Admiral of the Navy headquarters. However, you want to run away. If so, he won't pose a fatal threat to you because his speed is not very fast. Tian Li turned to Kabi and said, I'll leave this person to you. Kabi smiled confidently, it's just a matter of entangling him, no problem at all. Since the battle with the Hurricane Pirates, Kabi has also gained confidence in his own strength. The last one, Poison Q, a doctor, is known as the God of Death. His weapons are a scythe and a bomb apple, and he rides a strong man. Both guys look like they are terminally ill. This person is also very good at using poison, so Yu Xuanai is the best person to deal with him. It will be difficult for him to attack you when you are in the air. Kabi pondered for a moment and added, but it's impossible for the enemy to just stand there and wait for us to pick them. Bartolomeo smiled and said, Boss is making preparations. If all the members meet, we will make this arrangement and rush directly to deal with them alone. Our role is to buy time for the boss so that he can take care of Blackbeard. If we meet him one by one, it goes without saying that we can just go up and beat him up. Kirby nodded. Seeing Kabi nodding, Bartolomeo smiled proudly, how about it, brother is still very smart. At this time Kabi said, I mean, you are indeed very wretched. Bartolomeo, who was smiling all over his face, immediately stiffened and turned into a shark face and shouted, you are the one who is wretched, your whole family is wretched. Tian Li and the others were speechless. These two guys got into a fight for some reason. 2 days ago, on a small island, a pirate group of only 5 people came here. In almost an instant, they destroyed the place with such terrifying power. Even now, people here still don't want to think about that day. It's terrifying, so this place is still in ruins. In a shabby little wooden house in a hidden place on the island, there was an elegant man wearing a top hat, a floral shirt, and a cane in his hand. However, he walked very strangely, with his legs spread several times wider than an ordinary person. He came to a giant man with curly black hair and said softly, Captain, it's been 2 days and we've almost run out of food and water. Do we need to add some more? The giant man with black curly hair did not answer. After a moment of silence, he turned to the man with a scope on his right eye and asked, Oka, is there anything unusual outside these days? The sniper named Oka shook his head slightly, although I still have a strange feeling sometimes, there is nothing unusual outside. The muscular man with an eye patch also suddenly said, Captain, there will be no problem. We have been waiting here for 2 days. Even if there is someone near us, they must be timid guys. When the words cowardly as a mouse were mentioned, the muscular man laughed unconsciously, and the others also laughed together. Then the giant man with black curly hair said, Ha 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 ha. Lafitte, although your injury is still there, it's not good, but you're still the fastest, and it's up to you. Go out for a trip, but be careful. If you meet someone deliberately. The giant man made a gesture of wiping his neck, and then continued, Bogas, you go too. After bringing enough supplies, we will go directly to sea. Oka, Captain, do you think Lafitte was injured by someone? It seems to be injured in that place. It couldn't be. When Blackbeard heard this, the corners of his mouth raised, but he immediately returned to normal and said coldly, no matter who hurts my partner, I will never let him go. Then he looked at a big man on the side. Box, laughed, when I hand him over to the navy, it's time for my plan to begin. For 2 whole days, the 5 Blackbeards actually stayed in that small wooden hut in a hidden place, without even going out to urinate. Tian Li couldn't help but think, is there a fully automatic toilet in their small hut? Forget it, leave him alone. However, 2 points have been confirmed. First, Blackbeard's strength has indeed been greatly reduced in a short period of time. Otherwise, given his character, he would never be so low-key. Secondly, among the 5 of them, there must be one person who is domineering and very powerful. Even if he didn't notice them, he must have noticed something wrong. Although Tian Li had arranged a one-on-one plan before, it would be great if he could catch a lone person. That's why Tian Li and his gang waited outside for 2 days. At the same time, the 5 of them took turns staring at the cabin. The target appeared, but it was 2 people. One was holding a cane, and the other was a big man. Kirby reported back from the observation place. Big man? Is it Blackbeard or Bogas? It should be Bogas, because Blackbeard is still recovering at this time and it is impossible to come out. Tian Li laughed and said, the target appears, but there are two. It's probably La Fight and Chisa's basis. The five of you go and keep an eye on La Fight. I'll take care of Chisa's basis. Sri Lanka. Bartolomeo said excitedly, damn it, we've been waiting here for 2 whole days after we caught up, and the fight is finally about to begin. It almost suffocates me to death. Tian Lei said with a gloomy smile, then let's wait until they are farther away before taking action. We must kill them both before Blackbeard and the others come to help. Lying weakly on the seat, Po Q, who looked like he was dying, suddenly asked, Captain of the ship, why do you suddenly want Chisa's basis and Lafitte to go together? What if you really have enemies, wouldn't you be in great danger without Chisa's basis? Ha! 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 Blackbeard laughed loudly. What is certain is that there are indeed enemies here, because I believe Oka, his intuition has never been wrong. However, it will definitely not be by the people of the Beard Pirates, they can't wait for such a long time, and they can't be the Navy, after all, we have reached an agreement. So. The smile on Blackbeard's face suddenly became weird, and he said coldly, they have the ability to monitor us, but they don't have the courage to take action. Now I just want to know who these people are. Oka didn't speak, but you could still see a slight smile on his cold face. Being recognized and trusted by his captain was indeed an honorable thing. Chapter 70 Kicked out an eunuch. Ho 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 ho. Du Q also smiled weakly and said, if the enemy is really waiting, this is indeed the best way, because with La Fight's caution, no one can separate him and Bagas, but the enemy may not let him go. With such a good opportunity, even if they can hold back, they will definitely expose themselves when they see us preparing to leave. Blackbeard and the two also laughed knowingly. With his gloomy, strange, cold face and scarlet-red lips, Lafitte, whose face was as pale as paper, looked like a vampire, with a trace of pride and indifference inadvertently revealed in his eyes. He is really a very stylish person, but it is a pity that his lower body is unnatural, which greatly ruins his image. Ahahaha Lafitte, you are too careful. Looking at Lafitte who was looking around from time to time, Bagas, who had been following behind him and carrying several huge wooden barrels, laughed loudly. Lafitte gently lifted the top hat on his head, slightly raised the corners of his scarlet mouth, and said, in short, we just don't want to go back the way we came. Even if there are really no enemies, we should be careful. You know, our enemy is Whitebeard, who is known as the strongest in the world. Now that we have captured the captain of their 2nd division, it would be strange if they don't fight with us. Every pirate has his own belief and pride, and it is this belief and pride that allows them to move towards their own ambitions and ideals step by step. But when they heard the words Whitebeard, Baga Si still stopped his laughter. Because these 3 words are a big mountain on the head of all pirates. Until this mountain falls, no one can talk about their beliefs and ideals in front of him. Lafitte couldn't help but frown. When he came here, he deliberately took the route he often took before. The best place for the enemy to ambush is undoubtedly the way he came, especially when he was close to the city. At this time, the two of him it is the furthest away from the captain, and the time will not arouse the captain's suspicion. But why is there no movement at all? Do you really feel that you are wrong? It seems that regardless of whether there is any mistake or not, the best way for people like me, just like the captain said, is to leave here immediately. Suddenly, Lafitte stopped and looked at the row of footprints in the snow in front of him. Bagas behind him also stopped, looked at Lafitte in confusion and asked, what's wrong? Finally, a beautiful figure appeared, with a curvy figure, and she was holding a sun umbrella. In order to hide herself, the beauty in front of her specially wore a white fur coat and a navy t-shirt. General's cloak. At the same time as he appeared, his body also floated up little by little. On the other side, there is a woman wearing a navy uniform. The standard suit can't cover the delicate breasts at all. Instead, it shows the curvature vividly, and the cape that moves with the wind makes her look even more heroic. A ruffian voice rang out, Yo! Did you finally find us? It's a pity that it's a little late. The barrier trap house has appeared. With this sound, a barrier with a height of 20 meters appeared on each side, front, rear, left and right. So someone surrounded him. At this time, another young navy man came out and said calmly, sorry. There is construction ahead and this road is blocked. And? NBSP, haha. Really? Looking at the young navy who spoke, Lafitte smiled slightly, do you think you four can defeat me and Bagas? Bagas also laughed loudly, A group of little guys who haven't even grown hair yet dare to come to us to cause trouble. Do they not want to live? The underestimated naval officer lightly shrugged, and another figure suddenly appeared behind him. This was a young man who was ordinary except for his good figure. But for such a person, the whole person seems to be surrounded by a powerful aura, giving people indescribable confidence. That's right, the people coming are Tian Li's group. The first one to appear is Swina, followed by the cook Najiko, Kabi, and Bartolomeo. The last one is naturally Tian Li. After ensuring their route, Tian Li and his gang arrived quickly and set up their arrangements. Bartolomeo laid out the barrier early on. The same goes for the sky, which is just a light blue transparent barrier that merges with the blue sky high in the sky, making it invisible to people. Tian Li also smiled. Two handsome guys, what if I are added to the list? The corner of Lafitte's mouth curled up slightly. Unfortunately, although you seem to have good abilities, you are still more than 130 behind us, so no matter how many people you come, it will be in vain. Tian Li was stunned. This guy didn't recognize him. He was right. He had sneak attacked him from the front and back. After that, he became unconscious, so naturally he didn't recognize him. Tian laughed strangely and said gloomily, it seems that the kick at the Navy headquarters was not enough. Maybe if I add another kick, you can remember me in the future. When Lafitte heard this, his expression suddenly changed, and then his eyes turned red, and he roared angrily, it turned out to be you, bastard, who did it? I will fight you. After saying that, he rushed towards Tian Li. Lafitte's roar shocked everyone, because his voice changed and became very sharp, so sharp that it made people shudder. Even Lafitte's partner Bogas couldn't help but shudder after hearing this. I couldn't help but curse in my heart. What the hell happened to Lafitte? Tian Li's friends were also stunned. Tian Lei couldn't help but think that this was comparable to Don Quixote da Flamingo's Pika. But how did Lafitte become like this? Tian Li couldn't help but think that if he hated himself so much, could it be caused by his kick that hit the target? Hit the target, the bullseye at the back is a chrysanthemum, the bullseye in front, holy shit. Tian Li finally knew why Lafitte came to fight him as soon as he knew that he had kicked him. You must know that the kick he took turned into a sword and directly pierced him. That is to say, he was a sword, and a sword this time, hit the bullseye both front and back. Tian Li couldn't help but look at Lafitte, who rushed over with pity, brother, I really didn't mean to make you the first eunuch in the world of One Piece. You have to believe me. Although Lafitte didn't know what a eunuch was, he knew it was definitely not a good word, so he immediately attacked Tian Li at a faster speed. Chapter 71 Solved 1. Before Tian Lei finished speaking, Lafitte had turned into a shadow and appeared in front of Tian Lei instantly. Tian Li couldn't help but secretly praise how fast it was. However, Tian Li did not move, because Nyokijo on the side had already taken action, and Tian Li was still very confident in her strength. But this girl still doesn't believe in herself. Nakajo and Lafitte collided fiercely. Although Nakajo was still far behind Lafitte, it was still easy to block a few of his moves. What's more, she has a partner. Kabi's attack was also launched at this time, and his hands were seen dancing, hexagonal shuriken dance. Kabi created a large number of crystal shurikens in just an instant, and the shurikens immediately started flying around, except for himself. Except where the group of people were standing, all places were within the attack range of the crystal shuriken. For a moment, Lafitte had no way to dodge, so he could only retreat and draw out his long sword from his crutch to defend himself. Bogas screamed strangely, he was also attacked by Kirby's crystal shuriken. He raised his fists high and hit the ground hard. Under his fists, the ground was as fragile as paper and cracked in an instant. Bogas quickly hit the ground again, causing the gravel on the ground to jump up, and blocked Kirby's crystal shurikens one by one. But Tian Li has already regarded him as his target, and naturally he will not let go of such an opportunity. You must know that when the gravel on the ground collides with the crystal shuriken, the line of sight is blocked. Tian Li had already arrived at the edge, when the gravel and crystal shurikens fell together. Tian Li's hand had already been raised high, and he swung out a powerful slash. When Lafitte saw the sudden disappearance of the Sky Thunder, he immediately became alert, but he found that the Sky Thunder was not coming towards him at all, but towards Bogas. He immediately reminded loudly, be careful Bogas, he is coming for you. As soon as Bogas heard Lafitte's voice, he saw a powerful slash in front of him that broke through the surrounding gravel and crystal shuriken, and slashed towards him. It was so fast that it arrived in an instant. In front of him, people were caught off guard. It was impossible to hide. Bogas laughed wildly, raised his fists and struck at the slash. Boom! Tian Li's slash was knocked aside. But Baga's was also knocked back several steps by the power of the slash. On the other hand, when Lafitte saw that Baga's was fine, a smile appeared on his face. Before Kabi had time to react, the sword had already stabbed Kabi in the face. You can't fight hard. Kabi knows very well that he is not as strong as him, so he can only fight, not resist. If you take it hard, you will definitely be the one who suffers. However, Jing also knew that his speed was far from his. He was completely defeated, but he still had a partner, he has absolute trust in his partners. So he ignored it and launched another attack, broken crystal to subdue the dragon. Kabi made a piece of crystal on the ground with his hands. All the materials that the crystal came into contact with were assimilated into the crystal, and then turned into a 10-meter-long crystal dragon. At this time, Lafitte had been blocked by Nokijao and Xuanai. This Lafitte was indeed powerful. When he attacked Kirby, Yukina kicked out 2 Arashi kick slashes in the air. But when it collided with the sword in Lafitte's hand, it was scattered in just one blow. It's so big and it cost him a lot with this move. With his strength, Nyaki had 1 move and 6 extended skills, Iron Finger Spear. Kankan blocked Lafitte. The Iron Finger Spear move was developed by Nakajao herself and is her strongest attack. First, he used 2 fingers to use an iron block, and then he used a finger gun to shoot himself out. At the same time, he used the shaver to accelerate. The power was quite extraordinary. After the Lieutenant General, no one could stop him. At this time, Kirby's moves were ready, and he waved the crystal and rushed towards Lafitte. At this time, Lafitte had just fought hard with Xuanai and Nokijao. Especially Nokijao's move made his hands tremble. At this time, he was beaten soberly. Now is not the time to fight with this group of people, because although this group of people is single, they are no match for him. But the tacit understanding between them is extraordinary, and they are fully capable of fighting against themselves. What's more, there is another person who just made a sound but did not come out, waiting for a one-shot kill at any time. And the hateful guy who hurt himself is also extremely powerful, and he actually has the strength to fight Bagas. Based on this calculation, whether calculated mentally or unintentionally, the two of them have a huge chance of losing. Being cautious by nature, he immediately realized that it was the wisest choice to make peace with the captain now. He said loudly to Bagas, "Bagas, retreat first, it is important to meet the captain." After saying that, he turned into a white bird and flew into the sky. He was not at all concerned about whether Bagas could escape. Just as Kirby was full of trust and confidence in his partners, he was also full of trust and confidence in Bagas. "Bagas, yo! Ha ha ha!" He punched Tianlei away. Just when he was about to leave the battle, he saw a ridiculous scene. His companion fell from the sky faster than he had flown up. It turned out that this guy didn't even think that there was a barrier in the sky. His speed was too fast. By the time he realized it was there, it was already too late and he hit it hard. Naturally, Kabi and others would not miss such an opportunity. Kabi stamped his foot and shouted, "Crystal carpet needles!" In an instant, the ground within 500 meters of Kabi was covered with more than 10 centimeters long needles. Crystal needle! Skinai in the sky quickly floated directly above Lafitte and shouted coldly, "Iron-kilograms guillotine!" Skinai's weight reached kilograms, plus the impact of falling from the air with great strength. He pressed towards Lafitte. Bagas's eyes almost bulged out when he looked at it. He naturally knew that if this attack from the sky and the earth really hit Lafitte, he would definitely not survive. His eyes immediately turned red, and he roared, "Get out of here!" At this time, Bagas no longer had anything to hide, and he blasted the thunder with all his strength with both fists. After trying to blast away the thunder, he could block Lafitte's attack. But how could the sky thunder make him get what he wanted? Immediately, he punched with both fists, also with all his strength. Use the fruit ability, Iron Block, and Domineering Power together to attack like a general. The result is self-evident. Although Bagas is very strong, there is still a gap between him and the general, and he was sent flying back in one fell swoop. After a while, he got up, put his hands on the ground, and looked at Tianlei while panting. He really couldn't understand, how could such a young person have the strength of a general? At this time, Lafitte was already lying in a huge pit, which was caused by Shni pressing against him. He was no longer human. First he was hit hard by Swina in the air, causing him to vomit blood. Then he was pressed hard by Swina. The ground was covered with long crystal needles, and holes were pierced all over his body. He was dead and could not die anymore. Chapter 72 The Powerful Blackbeard. This was once again the familiar system text appeared in Tianli's mind. The accomplices killed the captain of the future 4 emperors and were rewarded with the armed domineering awakening factor. Please choose which of the 4 partners, Kirby, Bartolomeo, Nakajao, and Xena, will be awakened. Please choose first within 5 seconds. If the self-destructive awakening factor is not selected after the time limit, let Nyakigao awaken. Tian Li made a decision almost without thinking. Bartolomeo, Romeo and Schnee are capable people, and their abilities are pretty good. As long as they are well developed, they can become strong men. Kabi is also an esper, and has good swordsmanship as an assistant, and he has awakened the haki of knowledge and color. It can be said that all 3 of them are taking the mage type route, and only Nakajao is taking the melee type route, so it is perfect for her to awaken the armed color haki. At this time, Nakajao felt a stabbing pain in her head. Fortunately, it only lasted for a moment. She just said ah, and then everything was fine. This girl probably doesn't know yet about herself, but has already awakened her armed domineering energy. At the same time, Tian Li couldn't help but complained, why did he have to be in pain for a long time every time, until he fainted? As soon as he got to Nyakigao, he just felt better. Is this system still a public one, like beautiful women? Of course, Tian Li thought so much, but it only happened in a moment. After all, the speed of thinking was too fast to calculate. Bogas looked at Lafitte, who was lying motionless in the pit. He immediately let out a loud roar. The sound was so loud that he had never seen it before, it shocked several people and caused their ears to hurt. Tian Li immediately became unconscious. Bogas must be sending a signal to Blackbeard. Tian Li immediately said, I will deal with this person. You guys immediately go to the route where Blackbeard came here and set up an ambush. If you see Blackbeard, let him go and find a way to stop the others. Bogas looked up to the sky and laughed, you are dead. Once our captain comes, no one can escape death. Oh ha ha ha. Just wait to die. Tian Li smiled coldly and said, it's not certain whether I will die or not, but you are dead. After saying that, Tian Li waved his hand and slashed towards Bogas. Then he stepped hard on the ground and came to the side of Bogas in an instant. His hands turned into sharp swords and shouted, Iron Double Sword Sprint. He saw the thunder, jumped lightly, turned his body horizontally, and spun quickly. Then, he attacked Bogas. Bogas let out his signature laugh, ha ha ha. He saw that he was facing Tian Li's slash and Tian Xi's attack with both hands. There was no other way. Tian Li's attack was too fast, and he couldn't dodge it in his current state. He was intentional but powerless. When I collided with Tian Li before, I really didn't expect that the guy in front of me could actually hit a general level blow. I was unprepared and suffered a big loss and suffered serious injuries. I'm afraid I won't be able to recover for a while, and my combat power has dropped a lot. The only hope now is that the captain can come over quickly, otherwise I will really end up here today. Bogas's fist struck Tian Li's slash and himself respectively. Boom! Tian Li's slashes dispersed in response. Tian Li sneered. This slash was originally used as a feint attack. The real killing move was his own, and this time it was still at the level of a general. Tian Li risked his life to get rid of Blackbeard before he came here. Ah! Bogas became miserable. The thunder was like a meat grinder, mincing his entire arm into minced meat. Naturally, thunder is not allowed. Yes, let's forget it. Regardless of the rapid consumption of physical strength, he hit 6 general level attacks in a row. Only then did the system text appear in his mind. The host killed Bogas, the future captain of the 4 emperors, and received a high-level animal devil fruit as a reward. Advanced animal devil fruit. Tian Li was happy. It seemed that Nyokijao was the leader again, because everyone else had abilities. It seemed that Nyokijao's strength was about to make a big leap forward. Double happiness. At this moment, Tian Li heard a sound and roared, asshole, stop it. Without turning around, Tian Li knew that Blackbeard had arrived. Tian Li, Blackbeard, you seem to be a little late. I'll take your 2 companions. When Blackbeard heard this, he immediately glared at Tian Li, and then began to scan the surroundings, looking for one of his and one of his companions. When he saw Lafitte. He could no longer suppress his anger. The man in front of him killed 2 of his most important partners at once. He must die. Blackbeard shouted, Dark Cave. Blackbeard put his hands on the ground, and a large amount of dark energy was released, extending rapidly to the surroundings. All the ground where it passed was covered by darkness, and the darkness everything it touches is sucked in and sinks. The range is also very wide. This move can be said to be a disaster for those who do not stay and move in the sky. But not Tian Li. Moon Step escaped easily, and the thunder in the sky continued to arouse hatred. You can't even protect your own comrades. You are really a bit incompetent as a captain. Blackbeard suppressed his anger and asked, why? Didn't we have an agreement with your navy? Although Tian Li knew that such a thing was happening, he said rather roguely, is that none of my business? I only know that I have not received any notice not to kill you. Blackbeard naturally knew what was going on. He had not yet handed Ace over to the navy, so the agreement had not been fully reached. Sengoku would not make the matter public and let him become a Shishibukai. So isn't it just right for the navy to beat him, a pirate? But he didn't know that Tian Li knew, but he just pretended not to know, otherwise he would be angry to death. Blackbeard sneered, kill me? Then give it to me and be prepared to die. Liberation. In the darkness, a pile of stones scattered at once and hit the sky thunder. Tian Li turned his hand into a sword and shouted, one sword flow tornado. A strong hurricane formed, sending the stones that were thrown away in a circle. Blackbeard looked at the right hand of Tian Li that turned into a sword, and couldn't help laughing wildly, ha 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 ha, he is actually a person with abilities, he really doesn't know life and death, you go and be buried with my accomplices. Dark water. A strong attraction sucked the thunder down from the sky. No matter how hard Tian Li struggled, he couldn't break away from this suction. Ha ha ha. Go to hell. Blackbeard looked at Tian Li, who was getting closer and closer, and punched Tian Li hard in the abdomen. The moment Tian Li was hit, he finally understood why Ace was seriously injured after only being hit twice. In the past, Tian Li always thought that Ace was too focused on fruitful abilities and lacked corresponding training in physical skills and body. This is where Ace lacks training, but this Blackbeard's attack is so abnormal, with at least 15,000 strength, a proper general level attack power. Chapter 73 Blackbeard is in trouble. Tian Li was severely knocked away and fell to the ground, unable to get up for a while. You must know that the previous battle with Bagas consumed almost 8 levels of physical strength. He was not Blackbeard's opponent in the first place, but now he has consumed too much physical strength and the battle effectiveness has been damaged. Although Tian Li still has a chance to escape, his goal has not been achieved yet, but if you stay, you have a high chance of death. Tian Li became fierce and said to himself, damn it! I'll give it a try today and defeat this Blackbeard's arrogance. At this time, Blackbeard sneered, boy, I will not let you die so easily. I will let you taste the pain in the world before letting you accompany my 2 partners. Ha ha ha. You let me come over here. Dark water. Tian Li was sucked in again. When Tian Li heard that Blackbeard was not going to kill him, but was going to torture him, he didn't have any fear, but he breathed a sigh of relief. Because only in this way can I have a chance. In order not to arouse Blackbeard's suspicion, Tian Li struggled imaginatively. Seeing Tian Li's performance, Blackbeard became even more proud and began to relax. When he drew Tian Li close to him, he punched him again. Tian Li also flew out fiercely again. Tian Li clearly felt that Blackbeard's attack had dropped to the level of a lieutenant general. It seems like this is really going to torture yourself. Although Tian Li was more injured this time, Tian Li was secretly happy. Tian Li saw Blackbeard walking towards him without using the power of the fruit. Tian Li immediately became excited, but he still hit it well on the surface, with a frightened expression. Blackbeard quickly walked up to Tian Li and stepped hard on Tian Li. Pfft! He was stepped on and vomited blood again. But Tian Li is extremely happy, because at this time, Blackbeard does not have the ability to use the fruit. You must know that the dark fruit can absorb the power of all fruits. The replacement fruit of Tian Li is naturally the same, but now that Blackbeard has not activated the ability of the dark fruit, it is different. Tian Li's replacement fruit is also the top existence among its kind and category, and its ability is naturally extremely powerful. When the dark fruit ability is not used, it can be replaced. Tian Li immediately shouted coldly, replace. Ah! He heard Blackbeard holding his head and making a miserable cry. His body was also a little unstable and he took several steps back. Tian Li couldn't help but regret not replacing the fruit. The first time he replaced it was when he was at his strongest. He directly took the opponent's ability from his body. Therefore, the person who has been robbed will be miserable, just like Mr. 1. But it's different now. In addition to replacing the fruit, there can't be 2 devil fruits in one body, otherwise they will explode. So this substitution changed from taking away to replacing, that is, replacing each other. In other words, Tian Li is now a user with the dark fruit ability, and Blackbeard has become a user with the slash fruit ability. Another disadvantage of replacing fruits is that you cannot repeat the ability of a fruit. For example, Tian Li has just replaced Blackbeard. After the ability exchange, Tian Li cannot replace him again and exchange his ability back. At this time Tian Li couldn't help but burst out laughing, 3 times. 3 blows. I didn't resist and received 3 solid blows, I almost died, but this time I really won. In a head-on confrontation, if Blackbeard uses the dark fruit, he will have no chance to replace him. You can only show weakness to the enemy and let Blackbeard pay for his arrogance. Replacing the fruit doesn't just replace the fruit's ability, it also replaces the development of the fruit. Tian Li shouted, "Dark energy!" A large amount of darkness emerged from Tian Li's body, wrapping Tian Li inside. Ah! Now Tian Li finally knew that he could absorb the damage he received, but the pain would be double that of a normal person. How much does this double hurt? At this time, opposite Tian Li, Blackbeard was completely stunned. His face was covered in cold sweat. He had endured this for 20 years in the Whitebeard Pirates and had not hesitated to kill the captain of the 4th Division, Thatch. This was what he relied on to get the Whitebeard shock fruit. This is his capital to become the Pirate King in the future. Was it taken away like this now? Unwilling to give up, he stretched out his right hand and used the fruit's ability. However, he did not see the familiar dark power. Instead, he saw a right hand that glowed coldly in the sun, like a sharp sword. At this moment, Blackbeard felt as if his whole world had collapsed, and his whole person collapsed. He let out a desperate scream, "No!" When Tian Li emerged from the dark power, all the injuries on his body had healed. However, his face was extremely pale, which was painful. Now Tian Li had to admire Blackbeard's willpower, and he could actually use this move again and again. Tian Li said, "It really hurts so much, not something that ordinary people can bear. It's better not to use this move in the future." Tian Li would rather take his time to recuperate. Blackbeard is indeed a man with a strong will. He reluctantly accepted this fact after a while, looked at Tian Li coldly and said, "How did you do it?" He really couldn't understand, his secret. How was the fruit changed? Tian Li also felt the full power of the dark fruit at this time. Now Tian Li also knows how Blackbeard took Whitebeard's shocking fruit. In a very good mood, Tian Li replied to Blackbeard, "Since you brought me the dark fruit, it doesn't hurt to tell you. Do you think that the dark fruit is special? You can absorb any of them. The devil fruit is not as good as the dark fruit. As an accessory ability, you can become the only person in the world with dual abilities. My fruit is called replacement. The first time you use it, you can replace any fruit ability as an accessory ability. After using it again, you can treat it as an exchange for the fruit ability. Like us now." Blackbeard glanced at his hands that turned into 2 swords and was silent for a while. He laughed wildly, "Ha ha ha. He missed me, Blackbeard, and planned his whole life, and in the end, he actually made a wedding dress for someone else. Ha ha ha. In this case, go to hell." Before he could finish speaking, Blackbeard was there. There was a sharp stamp on the ground, turning into an afterimage and attacking Tian Li. Tian Li smiled proudly and said, "I don't want to fight you now." There was another Tian Li who didn't say, "Without you Blackbeard, how could Whitebeard go to the Navy headquarters? How else could the battle at the top happen? Now that I have the dark fruit, I have another accessory ability. In other words, the battle on top is a good time for me to choose another fruit." Chapter 74 Understand the world of One Piece. But it's a pity that he can no longer use the power of substitution, because once he replaces it, the dark fruit will be replaced. Of course, at the same time, the auxiliary abilities of the dark fruit were also replaced. This is equivalent to exchanging 2 abilities for 1 ability. The loss is huge. I will not do such a loss-making business. Amid Blackbeard's furious and helpless roar, Tian Li quickly left in the sky. After that, I met my friends on the Xian warship. A month later, a special Rear Admiral class warship appeared in the port of the Navy headquarters. That's right, it's the Tian Li group. They are back again at the Navy headquarters. There is no other way. Warring States blew the sky thunder more than once and returned to the Navy headquarters, saying that they had some missions. There is nothing you can do about the Tian Li. A few of them have come back obediently. You can be willful when you have nothing to do. No one will do anything to you, a new star in the Navy with great potential. But if something is arranged and you don't come back, then you don't know what is good and what is good. Navy Headquarters, Sengoku Marshal's Office, Tianlei. And you have taken down all the Hurricane Pirates. You have done a good job. Now promoted to Lieutenant General, Yukata and Men Fujiwara are promoted to Brigadier General, Kirby, and Bartle. Romeo and Naki, the cook, are promoted to Colonel. Lieutenant General. Tian Li suddenly felt bad. Tian Li could guarantee that there must be something wrong with this. No matter how strong he was now or how many achievements he had made, he could not be promoted to Lieutenant General so quickly. Moreover, even a group of people under him were promoted, and they were all promoted by skipping levels. This is definitely not a good thing, because this is blocking your own mouth so that you can't refuse. Tian Lei now gives you a mission to garrison the Chambord Islands. Warring States said lightly. When Tian Lei heard this, he realized that it was indeed up to no good, to garrison the Chambord Islands. Aren't they the Tianlong people who are there to protect and often wander around there? Have you been treated like a dog in the past, and here, if you accidentally offend the Tianlong people, you will be in big trouble. Therefore, no vice admiral from the Navy headquarters wants to go there, except for those guys who are ready to flatter others. But Tian Li would never become the dragon dog of the Tianlong people, so Tian Li said that his balls were quite painful. But there is no way to turn back. The Warring States period formally issued the order here, not to mention the 4 Lieutenant Generals Crane, Garp, Flying Squirrel and Ghost Spider nearby. It was even more difficult to refuse, otherwise Warring States' face would be lost. If he lost his face, how could he feel better? Well, at worst, it's just a sightseeing trip. By this time, the 11 supernovas should have gathered there by now. It's not a bad idea to go and meet them. After a while, it would be nice to make a mistake and get yourself out of there. In this way, you can enjoy yourself without having to fight against the Warring States period, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Thinking of this, Tian Li said, okay, okay. I'm going now. After saying this, Tian Li wanted to leave. Warring States immediately said, just wait a moment. There is still a procedure to go through to be promoted to Lieutenant General. Although with your strength, there is no problem at all, but after all, it is a procedure that is easy to go through. What procedure? Tian Li's face was full of doubts. He had never heard of such a statement in his previous life. Warring States smiled and said, Lieutenant General is already the backbone of the Navy and has very great power. Therefore, when you are promoted, you must test the strength of the promoted person. Respectively, and first, a Lieutenant General and a General compete in a competition. Tian Li was still very puzzled and couldn't help but said, why do we have to fight twice? There is a difference. If you are undefeated against a Lieutenant General, you can be promoted to Lieutenant General. This is the basic condition for promotion to Lieutenant General. If you defeat the Lieutenant General, you can not only be promoted to Lieutenant General, but also be directly included in the elite Lieutenant Generals. The benefits are and the power is much higher than that of ordinary Lieutenant Generals. If you fight with a general and resist 20 moves without losing, you can become a famous general, just like Crane, Garp, Flying Squirrel and Ghost Spider. There are hundreds of Lieutenant Generals in the Navy, but you know how many are there? Tian Li was frightened and couldn't help but exclaimed, hundreds of Lieutenant Generals. Tian Li thought, is the Navy so strong? Warring States and the 4 Lieutenant Generals all laughed. You don't think that the Lieutenant Generals are only the famous ones in the Navy, do you? But don't forget, how many pirates are there in the world? Hundreds of millions of pirates, they all have the strength of a sub-base Lieutenant General. How many pirates are there in the hundreds of millions? Just look at the bounty list and you will know. And how many countries our United Nations has, it depends on the strength of a sub-base Lieutenant General, or a headquarters Major General. Those with strength should go and garrison them. Lieutenant Generals will also be required to garrison each sub-base. What's more, there are departments like Intelligence Organization CP9/CP0, which also need a lot of strong people. We also have to conquer pirates everywhere, suppress the Yonko and the Shishibukai. Do you think it is enough without hundreds of Lieutenant Generals? That's it. In this way, the number of Lieutenant Generals we can mobilize will be the original team of the headquarters, because other Lieutenant Generals have their own places to guard and cannot be lightly transferred. Sengoku said this, and Tian Li thought about it. Let's talk about the captains of the Whitebeard pirates. Judging from the battle at the top, the captain of the first team, Phoenix Marco. The captain of the second team, Fire Fist Ace, these two are definitely at least at the top of the Lieutenant General level, and even the strength of the general level. The captain of the 3rd Division, Diamond Josie, and the captain of the 5th Division, Foil Bista, are definitely capable of becoming a Lieutenant General or a famous general. As for the remaining captains, Brahmank, Rikyo, Shark Mloknamur, Blenheim, Kuriel, Jinggyudo, Halta, Buffalo Atmos, Speedo, Kir, Changfasa and Izzo, which one is not a lieutenant general? The Whitebeard Pirates, one of the 4 emperors, has so many lieutenant general level figures, and there is also the strongest Whitebeard in the world. What about the other 3 emperors? Even if the Whitebeard Pirates are the strongest, they are not much different, they must have at least 10 powerful lieutenant generals under their command. There are also the Shishibukai and those bandits from the sea who are only under the 4 emperors. There must be quite a few of them. After doing this calculation, Tian Li understood how powerful the navy was. All the people who appeared in the anime in his previous life were top-notch people. There are also many characters who did not appear at all. That is because they are not on the main character Luffy's route. Tian Li began to look forward to it. It seemed that this world was far more interesting than he knew. There are so many strong people, are you afraid that there will be no challenge? Tian Li pointed at Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel and said, then let me have a fight with Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel. I have admired Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel for a long time. Only then did Tian Li realize the true face of the One Piece world. Now, this is a real world, not just anime from previous lives. Tian Li shouted in his heart. Come on, bring it on, let the storm come more violently, only in this way will my visit to the world of One Piece be worthwhile. Chapter 75 Battle with Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel looked at Tian Li in surprise. Me. He really didn't expect Tian Li to choose him. It really felt like he had won the jackpot. The others also smiled, and Warring States said, Tian Li's strength is indeed worthy of your Flying Squirrel. After all, he has the record of defeating 2 Shishibukai. Let's compete now. After a while, we arrived at the place where the competition was held. Tian Li was familiar with this place. It was the place where he fought against Moonlight Moria. Tian Li really didn't know about this guy. What happened to Warring States in the end? Was he let go? Is it off? Tian Li and Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel came to the field. Tian Li smiled at Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel, I'm not polite. The Flying Squirrel walked towards Tian Li with a long sword in hand. Although this is related to your future power, I don't want to offend you and General Akainu. However, since I stand here, I must do my best. This is the principle of being a navy. Not much else to say, let's start fighting. Tian Li naturally understood the meaning of Flying Squirrel's words. He was only fighting this battle out of the principles of a navy and was not targeting himself. But Tian Li wants him to do his best. After all, although he obtained the dark fruit, his strength increased greatly. However, physical and sword skills alone have declined a lot. Tian Li now also holds his sword Butuyuhun in his hand again. After all, he can no longer use his body as a sword and can only use the sword again. As soon as he finished speaking, the Flying Squirrel disappeared from the place and appeared on the side of Tian Li. With one wave at the same time, a powerful slash quickly struck towards Tian Li. Tian Li himself is a user of the 6-style shave, so this move cannot be hidden from him, not to mention that Tian Li is also a user of the domineering power of knowledge and color. He stamped his foot on the ground, and immediately started to shave, and disappeared in an instant. The next moment, he was dozens of meters away, avoiding the whizzing attack. At the same time, he also swung a powerful slash and counterattacked. Wind go! An indifferent voice came from the air behind Tian Li, who had just slashed. Tian Li looked again and saw that the Flying Squirrel was no longer in its original place. So fast! Looking back, the Flying Squirrel unexpectedly stopped at Tian Li, jumped up from behind in the low altitude, and attacked him. Tian Li can control his speed and combat as much as his own, and may even surpass him. The long sword in his hand passed by. This time, the Flying Squirrel did not make a slash in his hand. Instead, he imbued the sword in his hand with domineering energy and attacked forcefully, intending to have a head-to-head confrontation of domineering power and strength. Tian Li was naturally fearless, and the Butuyuhun in his hand was also filled with domineering energy, and he faced him head-on. The 2 black knives collided fiercely, and the 2 of them were immediately in a stalemate. The 2 of them applied force again almost at the same time. As a result, they were each hit by a strong counterattack and were knocked back several steps. After that, the 2 of them launched attacks at the same time again. The long swords in their hands were also constantly hitting each other. The strength and speed of the 2 were almost the same, and they were evenly matched for a while. It seemed like it was just an ordinary sword move, and the 2 of them couldn't tell the winner. Tian Li shouted in a low voice, "One sword style, Flying Dragon Flame." As the sound fell, Tian Li turned into a flaming flying dragon and quickly attacked the Flying Squirrel. The flying squirrel's expression remained unchanged. For a famous lieutenant general of the Navy headquarters, what kind of battle has he not participated in? Tian Li's move was not enough to faze him, and he shouted in a low voice, "Shijir shooting!" The flying squirrel waved the sword in his hand, and white pointed lights as thin as raindrops shot out all over the sky. Coming, like rain falling on the earth, there is no way to hide, overwhelming. I saw that the flying squirrel's move was extremely powerful, and Tian Li frowned slightly, and used another move, Udao Flow Tornado. A hurricane immediately rose up, and the flying squirrels were as thin as raindrops. All the ordinary white sharp lights were rolled in, and they attacked the flying squirrel without stopping. Cut! The flying squirrel reacted extremely quickly. In just an instant, the long sword in his hand slashed forward, and a slash roared out, slashing towards the tornado fired by Tian Li. Boom! The tornado exploded, and the white pointed lights as thin as raindrops that had been involved before suddenly shot out. Countless sharp lights exploded so suddenly that there was really no time to dodge. Both of them couldn't help but smile bitterly. This time, they were beaten by their own attacks. They both shouted "Hacky!" The armed domineering force hardened without any reservation, and their bodies turned into pitch black almost at the same time. Both blocked this unexpected attack. Lanjiao! The flying squirrel launched the attack again first, kicking forward with his right foot, and a beam of energy roared out, attacking Tian Li. The sword in Tian Li's hand slashed into the air, the secret of one sword style, one sword, one world. A special, rapidly rotating slash flew out. Shishi! The two slashes were just there, and there was a stalemate in the air. Tian Li's special slash knocked away the flying squirrel's Lanjiao slash, and then continued to slash at the flying squirrel. It was the first time for flying squirrel to see such a special slash. He didn't expect it to have such a strong attack power, and it easily broke his own legs. He immediately shouted loudly, "Explosive slash!" A huge slash hit hard in front of Tian Li's slash. Bounce! The two slashes struck each other in the air, making a huge sound and disappearing together. Flying Squirrel looked at Tian Li's performance and couldn't help but sigh. With such domineering swordsmanship and physical ability, Lieutenant General Tian Li, you are really powerful. Flying Squirrel already knows that with Tian Li's strength, it is a 9 in 1 chance to be promoted to Lieutenant General. After all, even if he is himself, he still has no confidence in defeating him. At this time, General Kizaru had also returned to his headquarters and arrived at the island where the competition was taking place. His lazy face couldn't help but show a hint of appreciation. I really didn't expect it. I have always said how strong Tian Li is, and now I finally know. I have nothing to say about this gift. It's just me and Qing Pheasant and Akainu were not so strong when they were so big. This is just a competition, although it is done with all one's strength. But I also took some backup tactics. After all, this is just a promotion competition. It's impossible to fight tooth and nail, almost, that's enough. He could also see that, except for some useless cards, Flying Squirrel was already doing its best. But Tian Li obviously didn't do it with all his strength, but they know that Tian Li is still an ability user, but in the battle just now, it was not used at all. Tian Lei, you have passed this battle and you are already an elite lieutenant general. What do you think? Do you want to fight against General Kizaru? In this way, maybe you will become a famous lieutenant general. Warring States. While smiling, he said seductively. Chapter 76. Yin General Kizaru. Tian Li smiled confidently. Of course I want to fight. I also want to know how big the gap is between myself and the general. At the same time, he thought to himself, after a while, you will definitely be scared. Haha, I'm sorry, General Kizaru, my dark fruit was used as an experiment on you in the first battle. This is a battle between light and darkness. When Kizaru heard what Tian Li said, he came to the field in a flash. You kid, how did you become so strong? The first time I met you, it was 3 years ago. At that time, you were even Lieutenant General Garp, you can't even handle that slow attack. How come you have made such rapid progress? While watching the battle between Tian Li and Flying Squirrel, Kizaru clearly felt how strong Tian Li was. Just looking at the strength shown now, he was no worse than Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel. But even a fool knows that this kid can't even use his devil fruit powers. It's clear that you didn't do your best. I guess I want to save some face for the Flying Squirrel, otherwise the Flying Squirrel would be really miserable. Haha, there is a saying in my hometown that we should treat each other with admiration after 3 days of separation, and it's not that we haven't seen each other for 3 days, it's been more than 3 years. If we haven't made progress after such a long time, it won't be in vain. Are you mixed up? Tianli said with a faint smile. Haha, really? Try this laser beam move first. Kizaru looked at Tianli and smiled lazily, and at the same time stretched out his left hand. He fired the laser from his finger at the sky thunder. Tianli faced the General Kizaru, but he didn't dare to hide his clumsiness anymore, and immediately used the ability of the dark fruit, dark water. A large amount of dark energy appeared in Tianli's hands, and then he directly took Huang Yu's hand. Ape's laser beam. I saw that the laser light caught by Tianli disappeared little by little into the dark energy in Tianli's hand. Hey! Kizaru had a drop of cold sweat on his face. He had experienced more battles than he could count. There are many people who can take this trick from him. But this was the first time he saw what happened next. It's not right, isn't this Tianlei a user with the ability to cut fruits, but was that a thing just now? This scene naturally appeared in the eyes of warring states and others, and they were so shocked that their jaws almost dropped to the ground. Garp had a look of disbelief on his face. Sengoku, am I getting old? I actually saw this kid Tianli using another devil fruit ability. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel said with a bitter smile, Lieutenant General Garp, if this is the case, then I am also old, because I have also seen it. Although they are both lieutenant generals, they lowered their high heads slightly. It was a subconscious action, but it was such a subconscious action that reflected Garp's position in the hearts of all the navy. Tianli looked at Kizaru, who was a little dumbfounded, and said, I ate the Uday fruit, the top devil fruit in the Superman series. It can be said that as long as I like any fruit, I can replace him. First the first is snatching, and then there is exchange. For example, if I want your shining fruit ability now, I can only touch you and activate the ability. Immediately, your shining fruit ability is mine, and of course my dark fruit ability it becomes yours. At this time, Kizaru also came back to his senses, but he was still a little surprised. He asked in surprise, in other words, your ability is actually a replacement, and the others are all taken away? Zhan fruit, and the current dark city, is that so? And after grabbing it, you can still use the power of its devil fruit? Tianli said, that's right. It's exactly like this. Kizaru also regained his laziness this time. He looked like, hey! This is really an incredible ability. But the ability of the dark fruit you stole seems to be extraordinary. It can actually swallow my attack. Tianli laughed, I got this from the pirate Blackbeard. The dark fruit is the top and most special existence in the natural system. It cannot be elementalized, but it can absorb all damage. And it can absorb to inhabit all ability users and make them lose their abilities, like this. After saying that, Tianli stretched out a hand and activated the dark water. Kizaru immediately felt an irresistible suction force, sucking him towards Tianli. Kizaru was immediately frightened. This was the first time since he became a general that he felt frightened, a kind of involuntary fear. 8-foot mirror. Kizaru roared. Kizaru accumulated a piece of light like a mirror in his hand, and shot out a beam of light that bounced off the surrounding trees. A track of light was immediately formed. Kizaru just wanted to use the track to move at the speed of light, to avoid the suction force of thunder. Unfortunately, it didn't go as he wished. The moment the orbit was formed, he was immediately sucked in by the dark water of Tianli and swallowed it up bit by bit. Kizaru's darkness suddenly darkened, and he immediately launched the Ama Kongyun sword again. Photons gathered in Kizaru's hand, and instantly formed a sword of light, attacking Tianli. Kizaru also wanted to force Tianlei back with the intention of losing both sides. Looking at Kizaru in front of him, Tianli couldn't help but think of Ace. I think he was also so powerless when he met Blackbeard. It's not that the dark fruit is invincible, but that he suddenly encountered a person who powerfully restrained all ability users. He had no good way for a while and was suppressed. Thinking about it now, Ace might not be Blackbeard's opponent, and this dark fruit had a huge impact on him when he first faced him. As long as they have a chance, next time, although they cannot change the fact that they are defeated, there will definitely be a way to deal with it. What's more, this dark fruit also has abnormal recovery capabilities, such as now. Tianlei looked at it, and Kizaru's Tian Kongyun sword didn't dodge at all. In Kizaru's worthy eyes, he watched helplessly as the Tian Kongyun sword was inserted into his chest. Then he struck hard with the domineering fishman iron fist, and knocked Kizaru away violently. From the moment Kizaru was forcefully sucked in by Tianlei, Sengoku and the others' mouths opened wider and wider. When they finally saw that Tianlei knocked Kizaru away with a punch, their jaws could no longer move back. After Tianli absorbed the Tian Kongyun sword with dark water, Tian Li immediately came to the front of Warring States and said anxiously, "Marshal Warring States, I surrender." It seemed that Tian Li appeared in front of them, and when he said these words, their eyes almost popped out. "You kid, you are trying to trick me." Kizaru immediately appeared next to Tian Li. Now that Tian Li had given up, he couldn't do anything anymore, but looking at Tian Li's eyes, it was quite unkind. Those who have experienced it firsthand understand the fastest, which is why Tian Li immediately gave up. Needless to say, the one shortcoming of the dark fruit that is not a shortcoming is that it is afraid of the strong taijutsu, General Kizaru's taijutsu. The most important thing is that if Tian Li didn't cut the fruit, he wouldn't be a 1-second general. The highest physical attack would be a lieutenant general. The punch he gave Kizaru just now didn't even hurt a hair on his head. If you don't admit defeat now, when will you admit defeat? Tian Li didn't want to be beaten. Unless you rely on the secret fruit and work hard. But now I am just in a promotion competition, there is no need at all. Besides, why don't you leave now that you've taken advantage? Chapter 77, Chambord Islands. Hey! Warring States and others expressed their doubts. Tian Li is not upright. Didn't he give it to you? Why did you become a scapegoat? Kizaru was speechless and said, then why don't you ask him why he gave up? If my guess is correct, Tian Li's fruit ability will be somewhat discounted against a master of physical skills. If it weren't for ability, those who are still masters of physical skills, like Lieutenant General Garp, are even more unafraid. Everyone pondered for a moment, and then Warring States said, that's it, this dark fruit is also very terrifying. For those with abilities, except for a few, it is almost completely defeated. Lieutenant General, he smiled and said, you seem to have forgotten that Major General Tian Li's 6 styles are quite good, and he also has a powerful swordsmanship. It can be said that his fighting style is very comprehensive, even without the dark fruit, he still has elite. He has the strength of a lieutenant general. Coupled with his fruit power, he must have the strength of a reserve general. Warring States, Garp, and others were also shocked by Lieutenant General He's words, preparatory general. This evaluation is too high. They also admit that Tian Li has the potential to become a general, and is even said to be a sure shot, but his current strength has not yet reached the level of a reserve general. Kizaru smiled bitterly and said, I know that Tian Li didn't fight with all his strength just now, so it's hard for me to judge whether he has the strength to prepare for a general. But his darkness fruit is okay, absorbing an additional ability. When the time comes, with both abilities in hand, I will definitely have the strength to prepare for a general. Garp had a frightened expression on his face. What can have 1 power? Then plus the ability to cut the fruit, wouldn't it be 3? Can a person eat so many devil fruits? After saying that, he turned around and fought with Jean. National Road, Warring States. It seems that we are all old. We can't keep up with the times. Warring States rolled his eyes at Garp, and then said, I guess Tian Li ate something, a special devil fruit, to have such ability. He is truly worthy of being a wise general. As soon as he thought about it, he thought of the only possibility and the most likely possibility. Tian Li mentioned the replacement fruit and dark fruit he ate once again. Everyone was stunned by Tian Li's words. Even Kizaru, who had heard it once, still found it incredible when he heard it again. After a while, everyone came back to their senses, and Warring States couldn't help but said, it seems that we have to find an ability user for you, so that you can further strengthen your strength. The others couldn't help but nodded. If Tian Li had another powerful fruit ability, even if the general wanted to take him down, he would have a huge headache. Unconsciously, Tian Li's status in their hearts became even higher. Soon Tian Li still brought Bartolomeo, Kabi, Xuanai and Nakajao to the Shampoo Islands. Yukata and the paralyzed Fujiwara Norito served as Tian Li's adjutants and continued to stay in place. Originally, Tian Li, who was eventually promoted to the rank of famous lieutenant general, could choose 2 major generals as adjutants in his headquarters, but Tian Li did not ask for them, and directly pointed to Yukata and Mianpeng. On this day, just after arriving at the Chambord Islands, Tian Li was walking on island number 44, which was the entrance for civilians to enter the Chambord Islands. But most pirates and criminals also go to other places through this. And BSP, speaking of the Shampoo Islands, Brooke called them the Island of Failure and the Island of Starting Again. Near the Navy headquarters, there is the world's largest mangrove, the Yalkman mangrove. Because the roots of the tree are always exposed on the water, the Shampoo Islands are formed. The biggest feature of the Chambord Islands is that the roots of the Alkaman mangrove tree secrete a special natural resin due to respiration. The resin expands with air to form bubbles, and then flies into the sky. Since the bubbles are only suitable for the climatic range of the Alkazman mangrove, once the bubbles leave the climate range of the Chambord Islands, the resinous components will explode because they cannot fully exert their power. Bubble cars, bubble Ferris wheels, houses built on bubble. Bubble culture permeates every part of Chambord. The whole island is composed of 79 trees, numbered, and there are towns and facilities on each tree. People call the archipelago composed of these 79 islands the Shampoo Islands. What is even more speechless is that it is basically clear. 1 to 29, there are mainly human trafficking shops, human auctions, illegal areas, etc. Number 30 to 39, there are mainly soap bubble parks, etc. Number 40 to 49, there are mainly sightseeing areas, specialty shops, etc. Number 50 to 59, mainly shipyards, coating craftsmen, etc. Number 60 to 69, there are mainly naval stations, government entrances and exits, etc. Number 70 to 79. There are mainly hotel streets and so on. Tian Li really couldn't figure it out. The Shampoo Islands were right next to the Navy headquarters, less than an hour away. This is still the speed of a warship. If a general level 1 comes over, it will be as high as the sky in 10 minutes. This is why, in the previous anime, Luffy fought against the celestial dragons, and it didn't take long for Kizaru to come to the Shampoo Islands. But that's it, from the first to the 1th, they opened human trafficking shops, human auctions, various illegal areas, etc. so blatantly. What a weird thing among weird things. Tian Li couldn't help but think that it seemed like the good deeds were done by the Tianlong people. After all, these Tianlong people regarded everyone as their slaves. Maybe they had a share in these shops. Otherwise, why would the Navy not care about it? Perhaps due to good luck, Lin Tian randomly chose the number 44. Since this is the entry and exit point, there are people coming and going everywhere. Therefore, this is also the Chambord Islands, the most prosperous of the 79 islands, and also one of the few places where fights often occur. The pirates who can come to the Shampoo Islands all have the purpose of entering the New World. These pirates are not weak, and it is inevitable to be arrogant, so these people are also the most likely to cause trouble. He seemed to be walking aimlessly on the street, but Tian Li's eyes were very attentive in looking around, observing the crowds and stalls nearby. After walking for hundreds of meters, Tian Li discovered several groups of pirates, but they were all small pirates and not very powerful. Of course, this does not mean that these pirates are really little pirates, but no pirate with a bounty of hundreds of millions can catch Tian Li's eyes. Pirates that are invisible to the eyes are naturally small pirates. It is really difficult for Tian Li to be interested in such pirates, so he simply ignores them. When he was getting excited about shopping, the crowd in front of him suddenly became noisy and the movement was very loud. Tian Li couldn't help being attracted and walked over there. Chapter 78 The beginning of the riot in Shampoo Islands. Suddenly, the crowded crowd quickly retreated to both sides, all the way to the edge of the road, leaving the entire road empty. As if someone big was coming, Tian Fen could see expressions of deep disdain, fear and hatred on their faces. Tian Li couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He thought of the top specialty on this island, Tianlong people. Sure enough, after a while, a large group of people were walking slowly on the road. The 3 leaders were Tianlong people. They were wearing well-made clothes, followed by a white cloak and bubble hair. Covered. The most important thing is that they all came over on horseback, right, just riding a person. Only such a top-notch person can do such a top-notch thing. Tian Li's good mood disappeared immediately. He looked unhappy and cursed in a low voice, "Fuck him. I knew it was these scumbags who came. Here, others don't have such a pomp." Behind them is a large group of guards directly belonging to the Tianlong people. There are about dozens of people, who specialize in protecting the safety of the Tianlong people. Behind them are some slaves chained together by foot chains. The Tianlong people, the nobles of the world who live in the holy land of Marijoa, are the descendants of the 800 kings who established the world government 20 years ago. They regard themselves as descendants of the Creator and act arrogantly based on this. And treat people of other races as slaves at will, enjoying all privileges. Once offended, the admiral of the Navy headquarters must devote all its forces to defend it. It's a group of guys who think they are great, and are called the biggest garbage. In Tian Li's opinion, such people are worse than rubbish. Compared with them, those corrupt officials in the previous life, who were famously traitorous ministers and treacherous officials, were all their good friends. However, this kind of garbage has always ruled the world. There are many departments of the world government, all controlled by them. If it weren't for the rise of pirates in recent years, the Navy would have a certain degree of autonomy in order to deal with them. In the whole world, the people Tianlei dislikes the most are the Tianlong people, but there is no way, after all, they are the boss now. In the middle is a middle-aged and elderly Tianlong man with graying hair, holding a walking stick inlaid with precious gems. At this time, he was sitting on the back of a slave wearing foot chains. Judging from the clothes on the slave, he should be a pirate, but he fell into the hands of Tianlong people for some reason. Looking at the injuries on his face, it seems that the captain also endured inhuman torture to become like this. There are a male and a female Tianlong people standing on the side. According to the situation, they should be the children of the middle Tianlong people. This should be a family. The male celestial dragon had a snot on his face and was very disgusting. He was holding an iron chain in his hand, and at the other end of the iron chain were a group of female slaves tied together by foot cuffs. As for the female Tianlongren next to her, although she didn't seem to have any strange behavior on the surface, living in such a family must not be a good thing. The female celestial dragon complained, "I said your father and brother, what are you two doing here? If you want the captain's slave, just go to the Navy headquarters and ask. They have a lot of pirate captains, they can have whatever they want, and I'm exhausted after running so far." Looking down at his daughter, he scolded, "Isn't it because of you, if you hadn't played my slave to death, would I have come here to find a slave? Besides, it's not like you don't know what kind of captains the Navy headquarters captured. They are either injured or powerful pirates who can take them. But a slave? Moreover, there are more pirates in the Chambord Islands, and they are all rebellious pirate captains. Only by catching this kind of pirate captain and then taming them will it be interesting." As he said that, the Tianlong man laughed loudly, and in a blink of an eye he kicked the captain at his feet again, cursing, "Hurry up, walk so slowly, when I find a better one, I will throw you to my daughter." The male Tianlong tugged on the iron chain in his hand, making a clanging sound of steel, his eyes revealed a lustful look, and said to himself, "I hope there are some beautiful female slaves here, so that my collection can be increased. 1. When the time comes, haha." The pirates hiding in the crowd at the side could not help showing anger when they heard their conversation, and clenched their fists. But no one dared to make a move, not to mention whether they could break through the blockade of these escorts. If they made a move, they would face the pursuit of the admiral. Suddenly, one of the people under the female Tianlong seat was exhausted and fell down. Her fall was like a tarot card, knocking down his father and brother together. This happened so suddenly that everyone around them looked shocked. Many girls covered their mouths and let out exclamations of surprise. In the middle of the road, the three Tianlong people all fell to the ground, and the three captains under them also fell to the ground. The 6 people were entangled with each other and fell together. The 3 Tianlong people didn't react at all, and their whole bodies hit the ground hard. Although this fall is just a bump on the head for ordinary people. I thought it was these 3 Tiantu people, but their noses were bleeding from the collision. The female celestial dragon was the worst. The slave captain beneath her was the tallest. Even when he was kneeling, he was no shorter than an average person. It would be natural for him to fall. Fortunately, she was protected by a hood and she wasn't seriously injured, but her nose was crooked and her appearance was completely disfigured. Pfft! Tianli laughed. It was really his mother's retribution. The guards behind them reacted immediately and quickly surrounded them to protect them in the middle. Several of them quickly helped several Tianlong people up. The female Draco felt the pain on her nose. She quickly reached out and touched her nose. A warm feeling came from her fingers, and there was a sharp pain from her nose. A shrill scream sounded out, "Ah!" The 2 celestial dragons who got up next to them quickly asked the female celestial dragon who lowered her head, "Sister, daughter, are you okay?" The female Tianlong didn't answer. She grabbed a gun from the guard on the side and pulled the trigger directly at the guard. There was a gunshot and a bang, and the figure fell down. All the people nearby immediately looked at her with fear on their faces. Even Tianli couldn't help but be stunned. Just because of something like this, he killed his own bodyguard. It seems that I still underestimated them and they were no longer human beings. Immediately afterwards, the female celestial dragon who was furious because of her disfigurement actually raised the gun in her hand, pointed at the crowd in front of her and pulled the trigger. It didn't matter whether it was her subordinates or ordinary people in front of her. In the eyes of the celestial dragon, everyone was not people. Many of the people around are ordinary people. How can they avoid bullets fired by guns? the already stunned crowd suddenly realized something was wrong. It was obvious that the female celestial being's gun was aimed at them, but every time the gun rang out, no one fell down. The female celestial dragon, who was so crazy that she killed people indiscriminately, also realized something was wrong. Chapter 79, Change of State of Mind, Awakening of Overlord Color and Domineering Energy. The female celestial dragon discovered that today was really bad, and she broke her nose inexplicably. You want to kill someone to vent your anger, but someone actually causes trouble, he roared angrily. Who dare to interfere with our Tianlong people's affairs? Don't you want to live? Believe it or not, I will call the Navy General over and kill you. Of course, the person who caused the trouble was Tianlei, but he couldn't do it when he saw these scum killing people at will. So he immediately moved quickly and stopped the bullets fired by the female Tianlong people one by one, but Tianlei's speed was too fast. Ordinary people's eyes can't see it at all, they can only feel a breeze blowing by. Tianlei instantly appeared in front of female Tianlong, and said with great contempt and ridicule, "Are you looking for me?" When the female Tianlongren saw that Tianlei was a marine, she immediately said almost crazily, "Just now, someone messed with me. Find him for me. I will make him die badly." "Are you looking for someone to block your bullet?" Tianlei said calmly. The female Tianlongren immediately shouted again, "Yes. Yes. Yes. That's him, you go catch him right away, do you hear me? If you don't know how to find him, you don't need to catch him. I am the general. Also, who are you to order me?" Tianlei said with a look of indifference. "You are so presumptuous. Your navy is just a dog of our celestial dragons. You will do whatever you are asked to do. How dare you trick me into seeking death?" The female celestial dragon was already going crazy. When Tianlei and Tian Haijun were like dogs, Tianlei could no longer bear it. Others could bear it, but he couldn't. If you can still bear it when you point it in the face and scold a dog, where do you put your dignity? A powerful momentum came out. No, it should be said that it is murderous. This murderous intent was so powerful that even the pirates who had experienced life and death could not help but shed cold sweat on their faces when facing this murderous intent. This powerful murderous aura continues to spread to the surrounding areas, and its scope is beyond imagination. Soon the entire island was shrouded in the murderous aura of the Sky Thunder. With such a strong murderous intention, how many people did this young Vice Admiral of the Navy kill? The word killer popped up in everyone's mind. Soon someone recognized Tianlei. Isn't this the most talented Rear Admiral of this generation in the Navy? Now he has been promoted to Lieutenant General. This should be true. After all, Major General Tianlei is now Lieutenant General Tianlei. He has captured two Shishibukai, Crocodile, and Moonlight Moria. He is indeed the strongest genius in the Navy. No wonder he is so young and has such a title. Judging from the murderous aura in his body, he is indeed worthy of this title. The murderous aura leaked out is so powerful. It is conceivable that the murderous aura felt by the female celestial dragon from the front is even more intense. Her eyes were white, her mouth was foaming, and she was lying limply on the ground. It was obvious that she had been frightened and fainted by Tianlei's murderous intent. The other two Tianlong people were not much better. Their guards protected them in the middle and looked at Tianlei warily. If he hadn't seen that Tianlei was not easy to deal with, he would have pounced on him long ago. Such a scumbag dared to point fingers at himself, and Tianlei couldn't help but look at these Tianlong people with disdain. As long as you are strong enough, you can. No matter who he is, he cannot point fingers at himself. Tianlei's aura gradually changed. Tian shouted in his heart that as long as I am strong enough, I will be heaven, I will be earth, and I will be justice. When Tianlei finished these words, the aura of Tianlei instantly changed qualitatively. The murderous aura turned into a strong overbearing aura, and all the people around him fell down in an instant. When he came back to his senses, he looked at the group of people lying on the ground and became excited. I really didn't expect that I would awaken the domineering energy just like this. Now Tianlei understands that the real attack place of this domineering force is the human spirit. The domineering force directly oppresses people's essence. It relies on its own aura and pressure to have a great impact on people's minds and intimidate people's spirits. In this way, the reason why I awakened the domineering energy is because my heart and thoughts have changed, and I have awakened this overlord-colored domineering force. For those who are not determined, when faced with the overlord-colored domineering energy, they will instantly be unable to withstand the intimidation of the overlord-colored domineering energy, and will faint directly and lose their combat effectiveness. Moreover, Haki is a large-scale attack. As long as there are tens of thousands of people within the attack range, they may be wiped out in an instant under the haki of the Overlord. He has just awakened his Overlord color and domineering energy, but Tian Li is still unable to control it very well. The murderous aura that just emerged is only on Island No. 44. But now, this overbearing and domineering aura has enveloped the entire Shampoo Islands in an instant. Whether you are in your room or walking on the street, you can feel this invisible force. Facing this invisible force, any obstacle has no power to stop it. As the only island that must be reached when traveling to the New World, it is home to countless pirates with great potential and strength who want to make a name for themselves in the New World. They also felt this extremely domineering momentum. Many weak pirates, under the domineering power of Tian Li, fainted like ordinary people without even the slightest resistance. Throughout the Chambord Islands, whether it was on busy streets, busy restaurants, or high-end auctions, the sound of boom, boom, boom was heard constantly. Many people were eating delicious food and just fell into a table of delicious food. Some people were walking and were fine 1 second, but fell to the ground without warning the next. This scene happened all over the Chambord Islands, with countless people falling to the ground in various postures. Only those pirates with strong will and strength still remain awake. But their faces were full of fear, because they looked at the streets that were still bustling just now. Just for a moment, everyone fell to the ground without any warning. In the entire street, he was the only one still standing and awake. There were people lying on the ground everywhere. If you couldn't hear the breathing of these people, you would have thought that everyone was dead. The whole body tenses up involuntarily, always paying attention to the surroundings. This is the instinct of people facing unknown things. Even if there is some slight movement, they will be extremely nervous. At the same time, I also thought in my mind, what kind of power is this? There was no movement. Countless people just didn't react at all and fainted at the same time. The world has such power. Is this the power of the New World? The same thing happened to the supernovas who had arrived at the Shampoo Islands at this time. They watched their companions fall one by one, and the scene suddenly became extremely weird. Only Luffy, a naturally stupid guy with overlord qualifications, didn't feel anything at all. Chapter 80 The Most Miserable Person in History. In the first half of the Great Route, the power of domineering seldom exists, and many people have never heard of it, because the masters with this power have already entered the New World. Of course, there are strong people in the Shampoo Islands. They all looked in the direction of Island 44 with shocked expressions, because that was where the Overlord's domineering energy came from. Another vice-admiral stationed in the Chambord Islands was organizing those who were still conscious to help those who were injured due to inexplicable falls. And in an auction house, an old man with glasses said softly, "Surprisingly, someone has awakened the domineering power in this Shampoo Islands. All the newcomers are here. It seems that there is a good show." Oh. Tian Li thought about it carefully for a while, then reluctantly took back his domineering aura. Looking at the person lying on the ground, it looked like an endless sight. Tian Li couldn't help but secretly thought that he was in big trouble. No, it's none of my business, it's not me who did this. Tian Li immediately planned to take a walk first. But he immediately stopped and lifted up the 3 scumbag Tianlong people. These 3 scumbags cannot stay here, otherwise the people here will be miserable. Tian Li directly turned against these 3 scumbag Tianlong people, threw them to another stationed lieutenant general, and became the hands-off shopkeeper. A day later, the Shampoo Islands returned to normal, and Tian Li wandered around again. As for the trouble he caused yesterday, it was all left to others to deal with. It is estimated that many people have begun to scold Tian Li for being shameless. In fact, Tian Li wasn't really wandering around, he just wanted to look for supernovae. Unfortunately, he couldn't find any of the 11 supernovae. It was really a damn hell. At this time, Tian Lei, who walked to the beach, saw a flying fish flashing across the sea, and there was actually someone sitting on it. Tian Li suddenly thought of a person, the most tragic man in One Piece. That was Dibaloo, the man in the iron mask, a man who looked exactly like the one on Shanji's wanted poster. He could be said to have fully demonstrated the saying that he was shot while lying down. If he were in Stephen Chow's movie about Tang Boho and Kaiuk Siang, he would definitely yell at Mr. Singh, "I am the worst person. Who dares to be worse than me?" Tian Li immediately followed him. With them here, could Luffy and his gang be able to escape? When Tian Li followed Fiyu to the Straw Hat Pirates ship, Luffy happened to knock off the mask of the leader of the Fish Knights, the iron-masked man Dibaru. I saw everyone on the sunny looking at Dibaloo in shock. Although he knew this scene in his previous life and knew that there was such a person, Tian Li still laughed out loud after seeing it. However, no one noticed Tian Lei standing on the sail, because they had not yet recovered from such a shocking appearance. This. Looking at the true appearance of this captain, Sanji could no longer describe the complex emotions in his heart at this time. Nami said blankly. Now I finally understand why he hates Sanji so much. Looking at that very familiar face, it looked exactly like the one painted on Sanji's wanted poster. Not to mention his biological mother, even his stepmother could recognize him as Blackfoot Sanji. Chopper swallowed, but still couldn't believe what he saw in front of him. I didn't expect that there would be a guy in this world who looks exactly like the one painted on the bounty order. It's really incredible. Dibbaloo clenched his hands into fists, looked at the reward order placed in front of him, and cried, originally, I was just a mafia who bullied ordinary people, but I never thought that one day I would become a most wanted criminal in the Navy. Why? I have to be chased by the Navy, why? I was almost killed by a famous bounty hunter, and you can become famous as a pirate, and I have to bear everything. Dibbaloo was filled with excitement. Angry and miserable. Sanji, who fell into the sea, was also furious and said nothing. He silently walked up to Dibbaloo, jumped up high, kicked out with one leg, and kicked Dibbaloo hard. His face was filled with anger. A look of wonder and sorrow on his face. He shouted angrily, what the hell does it have to do with me? Tian Li was speechless, this guy is also a weirdo and a miracle. With his scumbag skills, he actually survived the pursuit of the Navy and bounty hunters. It's really incredible. Luffy and the others all thought in unison about what kind of evil this guy had to do in his previous life to be so lucky. Are we just going to watch like this? Seeing that this miserable guy wanted to be beaten by Sanji, Chopper looked up at the crowd and asked with some unbearability. Zoro leaned against the side of the ship and said indifferently, this is a matter between the two of them, and it can only be solved by the two of them. Ha ha ha. Lan Chi Frankie couldn't help but put on a signature pose. But it changed again after a while. I don't know where he took out a handkerchief. He wiped his tears and cried, I still sympathize with brother Dibbaruna very much. Brook half knelt on the ground holding his stomach, hitting the ground with his fist, and laughed crazily, how could something like this happen? But Sanji's attack was still going on. Plastic kick. Sanji shot out angrily. The power of his feet was extremely terrifying. Not to mention the little gangster Dibbaloo, even the captains and major generals of the Navy had to take it seriously. I was able to catch Sanji before, just by using a little cleverness. When the actual fight began, Sanji couldn't even withstand a single move from him. Sanji kicked him in the face crazily, one after another, until he finally fell to the ground. Boss, how are you? Several members of the knights who escaped from death asked eagerly to help Dibbaloo up on the ground. Covering his face, Dibbaloo stood up and shouted sadly, it took a lot of effort to force that guy Blackfoot Sanji into a desperate situation. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. Wait a minute, boss, let's take a look at your appearance first. But when Dibbaloo's men saw Dibbaloo's current appearance, several of them were instantly frightened. The handsome man in front of them, is this guy really their boss? Sanji, are you done? Well, I changed the bones of that guy, and from today onwards, the world will not have this guy. Sanji clapped the reward order in his hand, and said in a low tone. Holy shit! Sanji, this kick technique also has the effect of beautifying and nourishing the skin. No. This is not beauty and nourishment. This is a fucking trip to Korea. If this were the previous life, Sanji, you would be the best in the world. There is no one that women welcome the most. It is also the one that all men envy and hate. With this kicking technique, you can decide the appearance of your girlfriend. If you want Lin Chiliang, she will be Lin Chiliang. If you want Lu Yifei, then Lu Yifei. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.